Alright, so today we're going to be doing a technical breakdown of Dram 3. What that means is I'll explain a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that players don't really necessarily need to think about, but just ways as a creator I've made things consistent, not janky, or even just like talking about level design. I don't know. I really don't know what the goal for this video is. I'm just going to yap. It'll be on probably on YouTube. I don't know if it'll be my main or second. And I have no idea how long this is going to take. It kind of just depends on how much I'm going to yap and how in depth I want to go. I'm not going to talk about like individual lines of code, but I'll like, I don't know, explain some setups and things. We can even open up lunar magic. But for now, we'll just go through the game. Look at this, guys. I'm hitting save state. Oh shoot, this guy's playing with save states. I don't know which file I want to use. Oh wait. Let's do, I'm gonna have a slot on 9, so if I want to go back to here. So I'll just erase, I don't know. Let's do this one. Then we have some values on the left here. Those will change. That's just to help explain things, I guess, but that's why it's blank right now. But we'll just go through each thing one by one, talk about things. If you want to ask any questions, I guess you can go for it. I don't want this to go longer than like 5 hours. I mean, I could always just break it up into 2 streams or something, but we'll see how far we get and how long we talk about each level. So let's start. Time for the fans. Boom. First things first. So this intro screen, I did something nifty, and that is you don't have to wait for a timer before you start the game. Like if you just spam A, you can skip into the first level immediately. We hate waiting. It's also for speedruns, because people actually speedrun this, and if you want to just, you know, spam retry or reset, you can just enter the file, you know, hit select whenever, and you're good to go. And you go. There's not much about the overworld, really. Or music. I don't want to talk that much about it. But we'll go into level 1 here. Level 1. Save state. Yeah, it's like 5. Actually, it's longer. I think it's like 10 seconds. I don't want to talk too much about the pause menu, like how it works, but we're going to go individually in the level. There's not too much about this one. Actually, hold on. We're going advanced hack commands, guys. So if you see on the screen there's nothing, now you're about to be overstimulated. Okay, you ready? We got some numbers to look at. Very important. And this is because it's to show things spawning. I think 90% of making things consistent comes down to when you want an enemy to spawn. At least in Kaizo. So if we go, we just play the level normally. Oh. A lot of this doesn't really matter in terms of spawning. Like, level 1's pretty simple. One thing I've tried to convey in this level is, you know, you see a question mark block. You're not going to know what's in it. So what I try to do is have setups where you don't need to know at the moment that something pops out. That's why you like land on this platform, because your goal is to hit the block and then land on a platform. By the time you land on a platform, you can kind of survey the area and see, oh, that's what's in this block. In an ideal world, you probably like somehow convey what's in that block beforehand, but a lot of these setups for this level is you hit a block and then you like land on something so you can survey the area and see what comes out of that block. It is also the second jump in the level, which makes it not that bad because it's 2 seconds in. But that's just like a design thing I did. Oh, okay, hold on. Also, I prefer to play on keyboard, believe it or not. Here's another example, right? Hit a block. You gotta wait. See what's in it? You can probably get an idea based on what was in the first block. It's a Rex. Actually, we can look at the first RAM value. I need to open up another spreadsheet real quick, because I have like a spreadsheet with notes. So if you guys saw, there's like a troll counter, and it's not entirely accurate, but it's something I wanted to add just for fun because I like stats. But there's a RAM value that I keep track of it in, and I'm trying to find it real quick, and we could show it on stream for the first time. So here we have something called RAM Watch, which is a window where I can look at specific RAM values. Very useful for debugging things. This value is for Kaiser blocks hit. So you can see now we have on the left side a little value that says Kaiser blocks hit. So you see when you hit this block, that number goes to 1. We love math, it goes up. And if you die, it's still 1, you know? You reset the game. Well, it'll say 1 once it's you select the file. That's the wrong file. It says 2 in my debugging one. You get the idea though. So basically it's saved to the file. Also, sorry for the crunch. The crunch sound happens when I fast forward. See, it says 1. But anyways, back to this. The other thing is all the blocks that are trolls, they have not awful hitboxes. You see how close I am to hitting this block? Like, it's right here, right? But you see, I have to be, like, inside the middle of it to hit it. So I actually want you to... I give you a better chance to just miss it. So if you hit the block, you're hitting, like, the middle of it. See, I'm still not hitting it. I have to be pretty dang inside of it to hit it. Which is different than, like, a regular hidden block in the game. Because if you hit a hidden block in the game, you'll hit it from, like, here. And it's, like, annoying. Yeah, they're all custom blocks. It's a very subtle thing that I do. You can actually see it in the, I'm not going to tutorial, but the tutorial has, like, hidden blocks I want you to hit. Any invisible blocks I want you to hit has that hitbox, because if I want you to hit it, I want you to have a bigger, like, window to hit it. So those ones actually have the normal vanilla hitbox, but for any Kaiser block, it's got, like, you gotta hit basically in the middle of it. So that's why I try to make trolls a little harder to avoid. Like, you basically have to jump at the very edge of that to hit that. So here, we're gonna come up with the first setup that I tried to make consistent, and this is actually, like, one of the last things I did. Because I didn't know how to approach it at first, but basically, so if you look at these numbers up here, oh, it's 69, that's pretty nice. Let me start from here. So, when you get to this point, you see there's a 9 now, right? That basically means a sprite has spawned. And if we open up Lunar Magic, oh, swapping between scenes can be annoying. Hold on. Test. If you know Lunar Magic, the sprite that spawns is this one. This one right here. So the way sprites kind of work, spawn in Super Mario is they gotta be off screen by like 2-ish blocks. I don't know the exact number, but I'm here. When I'm here, this sprite spawns. And what this sprite is it's an offsetting sprite, which basically means I can spawn another sprite. So I'm basically spawning a sprite that spawns another sprite. And this is actually the Charge and Chuck, which is all the way over here. And the sprite offsetter is actually, like, literally one of the best sprites ever made. But yeah, it allows me to just place a sprite wherever I want once it spawns. So this is actually gonna be all the way over here. And I do that because I spawn a Clap and Chuck. And let's just get to the Clap and Chuck here. Okay, if that was good, I'll get to the Clap and Chuck. Okay, so it's this guy that spawns right here, the Clap and Chuck. So if you notice, when it spawns, it'll spawn like this, and it'll do like a little hop. And because of how many Chuck gates I have, where you have to like jump underneath a Chuck, when it bounces up and down on a set timer, and that timer will be dependent on when the sprite spawns. So sometimes you might get to a situation where as I'm making you cross this thing right here, you're going to be above the chuck. And if I were to have spawned the chuck like at a different time, when it's hopping up and down, it might not hop when I'm like lower because of how it's spawned based on like the bouncing up and down timer, because it's not the same spot. But because of how I have this, right, if you look at the 9, so this is actually the custom sprite, the offsetter. So for the first frame, it's just that offsetter, and then the next frame, it should turn to 33, which is the clap and chuck. Or I guess 91, because I forgot, that's the clap and chuck. Yeah, 91, and then 95 is like normal chuck or something. So now it's actually a clap and chuck. This guy all the way over here. And this is actually a custom chuck where it won't bounce up and down. It's just going to freeze in place. So these numbers right here, the first number is the X position, the second one's a Y position. So if you notice, this number isn't going to change. It's stuck at 13, 12, 336. So it's not hopping up, it's not hopping up and down. If it was hopping up and down, this Y value would be like 330, 320, then back to 330. But now, okay, well, I shouldn't have done that. So like, yeah, right now it's pausing, but eventually it'll start moving. And that is because we have a invisible custom block here. Right here. And this is what activates this chuck to start actually moving. So that way I force the chuck to be based not on where you are and how high you are. Oh god, it's just so annoying to swap between these two. It's based on this Rex right here. The moment this Rex touches the invisible block, I didn't realize it like goes up and down like that. So you can see, still 336, but once it touches the block, now you'll see that it activates and it starts hopping up and down. And I place it right here because of how you bounce off this Rex, you're always going to be in a spot where you're above this chuck, because if you want to land on this Rex, you need to be like pretty high up. And this is about the time when the chuck is going to be activated. This exact frame right here. And this ensures that the first bounce on the chuck, or the first time the chuck is about to start his check of whether he should jump up or down, he will always jump up. See, you can see he jumped. So that way it eliminates the setup where you might get to this spot, and because of how you spawn the chuck, he might not jump. So with this setup, he will always have, at least when I do it, he will always bounce 3 times before I go underneath him. So like always, doesn't matter how I do this, he will always bounce 3 times. All right, trying to do some weird things, like bounce on it late, maybe not that late. See, always 3 bounces. Do it earlier, 3 bounces. That was like as close as I can cut it to. You saw how low I was? So that's just like the first setup where I wanted to make a chuck gate not have to be like a little different, because sometimes you might get to, like if he says something normally, his first jump will be low, and then you will have to kind of manipulate that. So you do that, and then it'll be like a different timing. So that's like the first instance where I try to make something very consistent that the player does not have to worry about. And this actually uses a custom routine because sprites, they're not supposed to spawn this far back. Like if this, let me bring this up actually. So this is basically what the game looks like in the, when you play. Sprites, most sprites will despawn when they're about like 2-ish, 3-ish blocks off the screen on either side. So I had to make a custom routine that basically says, okay, this sprite will never despawn if it's off the right side of the screen. So that way it can spawn and stay spawn when it's over here. But when it goes to the left side of the screen, right, it'll still despawn. So right side, it can be as far right as possible. It can even be all the way over here. Oh, look, there's a Rex. And it'll never despawn. But once it goes to the left side of the screen, it'll despawn. Unfortunately, I can't display that because this truck's going to die anyways. If they die, they don't respawn either, but there's a few setups like that where I need it to spawn really far to the right side of the screen, but not like despawn. And this truck is one of the first things that I did for it. You haven't used offsetters? They are a very nice way to make things consistent. But we're going back to just play this out. I don't think anything else needs that much explaining in this level. The rest of this is pretty self-explanatory in terms of not having to do anything behind the scenes. Although I didn't make this truck always go to the right. See, he's going, man. He's forever going. And it's a little different because in vanilla S&W, there's like a line of sight kind of check where if you're not near the line of sight of the truck, he'll just stop and like look left and right. Kind of like an R-ware moment. But I made this truck. He also goes a little faster. He zooms faster and he always goes to the right. So that way you don't have to worry about the line of sight thing where you have to be like, oh, does the truck see me? Does the truck see me? No, he'll always go to the right. And yeah, I mean, the rest of this isn't too bad. I use fire bars. If anyone's curious, the way I use fire bars is to... It's more of an anti-cheese thing than an added obstacle. Anti-cheese and/or way to convey what I want you to do. So if you had to remove these fire bars completely, the movement I'm doing is exactly the same. But I was hoping with these fire bars, I would help convey that you're supposed to kind of do this movement I'm forcing. Thankfully, a lot of people didn't take too long to figure that out, because I was scared that this might be a little too cryptic for people to realize you're not supposed to bounce off the Rex until like now. But you'll see fire bars throughout the hack, and they're basically used for those reasons. Anti-cheese or help convey better, not as like really an obstacle. Does every level uses some sort of trick. And by trick, I mean something to make consistent spawning or consistent setups. So here we're going to get to the first instance of the camera scrolling sprite. So throughout this hack, there's going to be a lot of stopping and starting the camera. So you can see right here, right? The camera is just locked. And I do this intentionally to make it so you can see everything that's on the screen that you need to do. So in this obstacle, all you need to do is see that you have to hit the on off and that you need to bounce off the truck because it'll be on screen. It won't hit the switch. All right. Those are the two obstacles here. And the reason this camera stops is because when you move to the left, the screen is also going to move that direction to the left, which means you're not going to be able to see what's on the right. And in this situation, you need to see that you have to make a jump over these munchers. And I really like being able to have the player see exactly what they're needing to like do in terms of avoiding obstacles or hitting enemies or stuff like that. So when the screen scrolls back, you're like, you might have seen this a few seconds ago, but you're not going to know exactly the layout of it block for block. But here that eliminates that. So you can see everything. And this camera sprite is very particular because I have to make sure that this camera absolutely starts scrolling again. Because for now, right, it's you stop this. It's perma-locked, right? Left or right, it's perma-locked, so you can't make progress. Did the sound get louder? Hold on, let me quick sidetrack. I need to lower this volume because I think it got loud. Also, I have a feeling this is gonna take like a long time to explain because I'm on level 1 and I spent 20 minutes explaining like 3 jumps. So this might be a chonker This might be a chonker of explanations. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's what I want. Yeah, so the screen is always going to stay locked, no matter what. So, when I go to each of these obstacles, I have to ask myself, what do I want the player to accomplish on the screen? And number two, how do I make it so no matter how they approach the obstacle, the screen will always start to scroll again? And that's where we have the camera sprites. So we have one camera sprite that actually stopped the screen. This sprite's sole job is to figure out the exact position where the screen is going to stop scrolling. And if we look in Lunar Magic, it's basically anytime you see an X. The X is just a sprite, but this one's a platform, but the one that stops the screen, where is it? This exact position? This exact position right here is this sprite right here. Disables camera scrolling. Oh, you can't see the tooltip. I'll do that later. So this sprite. That's this sprite's job. Stop the camera right here. Now we need the camera to start scrolling again, and we have this sprite right here, the enable camera sprite. And that job is to enable the camera to start scrolling. But it doesn't want to do it immediately, right? Because if you enable the camera immediately, it's going to like jitter. And the reason I made this camera sprite is to make it so the screens scroll smoothly. Because I know camera blocks exist, right? There are custom blocks that make the camera stop scrolling at a specific spot, and then there are sprites or custom blocks that make this camera start scrolling. But the problem is, if you need to stop the screen and start again, most of the time you're going to activate this screen when you're on the far right of it. And when you're on the far right of the screen and you activate screen scrolling, the screen's going to go like 30 miles an hour to the right, and you're just going to get jump scared. So the way to combat that is I have it so you have camera sprites, because sprites are a lot more flexible with checking things. Because with blocks, you kind of have to have something touch the block, whether it's you or a sprite. But with sprites, it gives me more freedom to actually manipulate when and where I want this screen to start scrolling. So in this instance, the camera sprite is located right above this on-off, or right below it. And the way this works is it won't do its magic until you actually touch it. So if you just pretend that there's like a little, like the hitbox is like this. So when you see this number 3 actually snap on the Mario here, so this is when it actually snaps to Mario. And I think it actually manipulates so you don't have to hit this on off to basically do what I want it to do. Yeah, so now you can see that the camera starts scrolling in once you touch this camera sprite. I think this was an earlier version because in a later version, I had the camera sprite actually attached to the on-off. So basically, if you don't hit the on-off, the camera sprite won't attach to you and do its magic. But I made it here so that you basically have to hit the on-off for you to touch the camera sprite. The biggest issue would be if you hit this on-off and somehow don't hit this camera sprite, then the camera won't scroll. So I had to position these camera sprites or set them up in situations where if you do the correct thing, if you do what I want you to do, in this situation, hit it on-off, then you will be guaranteed to have the screen start scrolling again. And there's a ton of these setups in the hack, but this is just where the first one is. So you can see the 3 is snapped to me, and the camera doesn't start scrolling immediately. And that's because we're going to look at the memory view. Is it 1594? Yes. So if you look at the number I highlighted in blue here, this is I basically wrote a timer where it says, don't actually start scrolling the screen until this timer reaches 0. So if you notice this number, it's in hex, by the way. So 30 is like 16 times 3, 48 frames. So this number is going to stay, like when it's above 0, right? Right now it's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The camera doesn't scroll. And this is going to show exactly what I mean with like the camera snapping 30 miles an hour when you're on the right side of the screen. So here, I'm gonna pause the game. See how fast the screen scrolled? That's what I was trying to eliminate with this setup. So if you do it this way, you see how much smoother that screen is? And you can actually parse what you're gonna need to do as the screen moves, as opposed to being like, oh. So that's why this timer exists. So that way, you know, you collect the camera sprite. Since you're on the right side of the screen, if this were 0, the camera would snap and go to the right. But I need to set a timer, so when this reaches 0, you will be on the left side of the screen. So it's 0, right? But since I'm on the left side of the screen, it's not going to snap back until I actually reach the border, which is like right here. That's when the camera starts to scroll to the right. And it's much smoother. And yeah, there'll be a lot of them, but this is basically the general setup for 90% of how this camera sprite works. Hit it on off. Either have to wait for a timer to be a safeguard to not scroll the screen right away, and then you go. There's gonna be a few setups where I have to do something differently, but a lot of my stalling sections you'll see hit it on off, and then, you know, do what you have to do next. So we'll keep going. Not much here, really. So in terms of stalling sections, I want to also make sure that you know... Well, first off, you know it's a stalling section. And 2, you know exactly how long you have to stall for. And that's why this Rex is down here. Because you can see the Rex is going to travel this little path. So you know it's, 1, it's a survival because you can't go anywhere. And 2, you know how long you have to survive for because you know the exact path this Rex is going to take. Because I don't want to have survival sections where you're just like, boom, survive. But then you don't know what you're supposed to like fall on something that's falling, nor how long it's going to take for that thing to fall. So pretty much all my stalling sections, in some way, shape, or form, have you be able to see on screen the item that you need to continue and how long you need to stall for. Also, you can just stand here, right? Yeah, you can just like stand here. So that's basically stalling sections I've done in a nutshell. This is... Oh yeah, here's the invisible block. Okay, whatever, I'm not going to demonstrate that hitbox, but... Nothing really here to explain. Although my biggest concern with using the camera sprite is it could be in itself a jump scare, because there are situations, we haven't gotten to that yet, but there are parts where I need to scroll the screen to the right to set things up with the camera. Or there's going to be situations where you can't even scroll the screen back. So for example, I have the camera sprite make it so when it spawns, you actually are not allowed to scroll the screen back. In one instance, the first real instance you notice that is like right here. So this camera, this block right, or this right here is the camera scrolling one. And its sole job really is to make it so the screen doesn't scroll back. And that goes back to talking about what, like, I want to have the player have everything they need to know on screen. So for example, right, God, sorry about the music. Oh, you can see the screen's not scrolling back. And I do it here because if you were to allow screen scrolling, by the time I'm here, these Rexes would be off screen visually, and then you wouldn't know what their movement is like or where they are. But my biggest concern is because I don't really convey that the screen's not going to scroll anymore, which I think in a future iteration I might try to figure out how to do or implement, where it's like, hey, the screen's not going to scroll back here, and I can convey that information to the player, but I think most people kind of either subconsciously or eventually got used to it, where they didn't really need that information. Or it felt natural. Yeah, that was the goal. As long as it felt natural. And I think some people may have been like, needed a level or two to get used to it, but then after that, watching like everyone play, I don't think a single person ever said like the camera either movement or like stopping starting felt both unnatural or annoying. But this is like the first instance where I wanted to see if people would actually be bothered by it or not used to it, but I think most people weren't. So that's why there are a few instances where you can't really scroll the screen back. And then once that camera sprite actually despawns, which is sprite slot 7. So when you see the 7 go away, now I can actually scroll the screen back. But because most of my levels, actually pretty much all my levels, I mean, you go left to right. This entire camera system breaks if you go right to left, because I didn't code it to go left, right to left. So that's why every level is right to left. But you're never going to be in the situation where you need to scroll the camera left. So that's why I'm like, okay, sure, you can just, you know, start scrolling again, whatever. It's mainly where I have it be like, okay, I need to force you to not have the camera scroll left so you can see things. And then the rest of this is just kind of whatever. Another example of hit a question mark block, don't know what's in it, but doesn't matter because of how I set things up, because you need to go around this block anyways. And by the time you get around this block, you know exactly what's in it. And then, yeah, just whatever platforming that I cannot do. Can't do it. I promise I'm good at this game, guys. These are also custom platforms that interact with blocks, because normal gray falling platforms, they won't really interact with sprite killers, but these ones do. So that's why it's like boink. And this exists because I don't want you to get the wrong idea that you need to use a platform again, and or for cheese, I guess. That's why that's there. And then this is just a whatever section. And then we have the troll, which is just a Rex coming out the pipe. So if you actually look in Lunar Magic, another neat thing about this camera sprite is I can stop the screen at the exact spot I wanted to. Because in regular levels, if we bring up the screens here, the screen actually won't stop. Like if you reach the end of the level, right? It won't actually stop until... Where are you? I get rid of it. Oh, you can't even show that? I didn't know that. Well, the screen wouldn't stop until it's like this, normally. But the nice thing about the camera block is I can stop it where it's like this. Because I would hate to see this. Like a really long pipe or something, or like you wall it off. If you wall it off, you'd see it like this. But with the camera sprite, I can stop it like this. So every level ends with a too wide pipe. And that's just for myself, because it would bother me if it was like this. So that's one of the nice things about this camera sprite. And this troll is just whatever. These are custom blocks where it's like the sprites can pass through it, but Mario cannot. So that's why this Rex is right here. That's why it's a little, people wouldn't realize. They might see a Rex popping out of nowhere. But you can also see its little feeties. I intentionally left that in to give like a hint for the troll. Every troll I try to give a hint. There's a few that are just straight up BS. But most of them I try to give some sort of hint. And then another address. So when you hit this, you hit this Rex. Which address is it? Is it this one? Maybe this one. Yeah, if you die to this Rex, this value increases. When it says troll counter. And if you, like, you know, kill it or whatever, it won't increase. Chamber saw them. Yeah, I mean, this one is a whatever troll. It's kind of set the tone because it's the first level. But these are basically the addresses I keep track of to, you know, count the total. Again, it's not entirely accurate because if you die this Rex multiple times, it'll increase it each time rather than just one time. But in a future hack, if I were to put trolls again, I think I know how I would handle it now with being able to count distinct trolls. But that's a problem for future me. Same with trolls dodge. I want to add a trolls dodge stat. But that's the first half. I think the second half, there's not going to be too much to explain because it's basically what I had explained in the first half. But let me open up the other level in Lunar Magic. If you're curious, this is the 4th level I made, actually. One second. Silence Club. Okay. And then this checkpoint's just here because, well, if you miss it, you will get sent back. I don't know if anyone's legit. I don't think you can miss this. I mean, you can, but like, you just hold right. You don't even have to hold jump. But I just wanted to put it there just to make sure you get it. What happens if you miss CH? Oh, that just answered that question. Distinct trolls need an address. Kind of. The way I think I would do it now is I would have a byte designated per level. So that way it's a maximum of 8 trolls. And I would just count the total number of trolls in the hack. And then count the number of bits, because if the bit is activated, then it would mean the troll was hit. And if the bit was not activated, it means the troll wasn't hit. So all I would do is take the total number of trolls, subtract it from the number of... Or I guess I would add up the number of bits. Not... Well, I'd have to do number of trolls, because that would assume there's 8 trolls in every level, but there won't be. Something like that. You know, that makes sense. Anyways, level 2. Or second half. Not too much going here. We introduced the Red Rex, and this jump is set up to let you know what the Red Rex does, because you're going to bounce off it first and get to here. And as you're doing this obstacle, you'll notice, you'll be like, oh, this Rex respawns, and it pauses for a second. There you go. Now you know what the Red Rex does. Perfect. And now you don't care anymore. And the rest is whatever. I don't really talk about the portraits. This is an example of the camera block, though. So if you look in Lunar Magic, there's just a row of hidden blocks here, and that's just the enable camera, vertical camera, the vertical camera up and down. And you'll see, like, well, this one actually doesn't snap as fast upwards. It's also because the vertical camera works a little differently than the horizontal camera. It's also why I didn't really make a lot of vertical sections, because this camera sprite, it only works left to right. It doesn't work right to left, doesn't work up and down. It only works to the right. But that's why this is here. You can actually see the effect of that. I don't know how V-Sweat did this obstacle where he like actually goes all the way up here. Well, not all the way up here. But he like go all the way an extra cycle and then jump off the chuck like that. Oh, here's another example of the camera sprite thing, but actually no, I'd have to get all the way further to the right to demonstrate that, but if he touches block, it basically means vertical camera movement is enabled permanently until I take it off. So you go above the screen, the camera's actually going to scroll upwards a little, which is just a side effect of using this. But I also didn't expect people to go up all the way up here and do the obstacle. But I also have a portrait counter. So every time you actually enter this portrait room, where are you, RAM address? Oh wait, no, it's the dragon coin. I associate you finding a portrait with the you collected 5 dragon coins thing. But the nice thing is, I think if I were to reset the game right now, That's the wrong file. The game autosaves. So you can see the icons lit up here. I didn't want to autosave the game like at all times. So whenever you die, whenever you find a portrait, basically whenever it was in that first room, like literally all the time, the game will save for you. But here, I'm just gonna die. Oh, look at this raw gaming. Look at this raw gaming, guys. Oh, it's lagging. Playing in slow-mo. Oh, shoot. Alright. So here, we have the second instance of the camera sprite, but we also have the first instance of it forcing the screen scrolling to the right. So if you notice when I do this obstacle, the screen jumps to the right, which is the speed at, like if you were to turn on the camera movement, allow it to move, if you're on the far right of the screen, it's basically the same speed. But I do that to force the camera to be locked right here, because where Mario is, this camera wouldn't be at this position until I'm like over here. And depending on how you do this obstacle, you might never reach that point. So by forcing the camera to scroll with you, I can ensure that the screen's always going to stop at this position. So that way, again, you can see the stalling section with the green Koopa. You know exactly how long you have to stall for because you can see it the entire time. And because you're moving like this, back and forth, well, if you don't die, you're moving back and forth, the screen won't go back and forth with you, and then you can just continue onwards. And the screen doesn't actually start scrolling right until you pass, like, right here. I can manually determine the distance where I want the screen to start scrolling. It doesn't have to be, like, X position from where the camera sprite is, because if you look in Lunar Magic, the camera sprite is right here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. So what is this? Scroll camera right? Oh, I guess I have this too. Well, I guess you could also do that. And this is, I think this was because it was like one of the first iterations. It wasn't until like levels like, you know, World 2, World 3 levels that I actually had polished this up. But in the later versions, I am able to like determine exactly how far away from this camera sprite I want the screen to start scrolling to the right. But in this instance, it's right when you get to the muncher here. So that way it doesn't scroll too early, too late. So let's just do this real quick. So I'm a little god gamer here. Nothing too much here, just a nice little chuck gate thing, or chuck bounce. And now we get to the cool part of the hack. We have our first instance of a throw block grab. And in Mario World, throw block grabs are frame perfect. So if you look at the input display here, at the bottom, I'm going to push Y and B at the exact same frame. So boom, Y and B. And you're going to notice that I grab the block and jump. Yay, frame perfect. But I decided to open up that window of leniency by 1 frame in either direction, which means if you were to push Y here, Y is pushed, and then 1 frame later you push B. So you can actually see on this frame, right? I'm just kind of walking over here. But you're going to notice I'm going to jump and have the block in my hands. So now it's a 2 frame window. But the opposite is true. If you push jump, so B is pushed, and or A, then you push Y, you actually see that the throw block disappears for a second. But then you pick it up. Boom. So now it's a frame of leniency from either side. It's not ASM, it's actually a custom sprite. And I think it's easy to use. When I release the resources, you just have to insert a sprite, and all you gotta do is place the custom sprite over the throw blocks. So here, Which one is it? So this is placed right on the throw block. And that's just the easiest way to detect it. The only sort of side effect is if you were to push spin jump. Because if you push A and Y in the same frame, you're still going to just do a normal jump. So if I demonstrate that here, right? I push Y and A. It's a normal jump and you grab it. But here, if we were to push A and then Y, you're going to do a spin jump. Because since you pushed Y a frame later, it's just a normal spin jump input. So here's the spin jump animation, and you're going to hear the sound. Okay, you're supposed to play the sound. All right, maybe not, but sometimes you hear the spin jump sound effect, and that's it. That's like the only side effect. What I did have to do is, if you jump and then do a frame later Y, I basically have to calculate your jump height based on your speed, because when you spin jump, right, you're gonna get a lower height, and the game doesn't know that I'm trying to make you do a throw block jump where you have to do a normal jump, not a spin jump. So I also had to calculate your spin jump height and then modify it to be a normal jump height. So you can actually see this here. When I push A, Y speed is negative 77. And when I grab it, it should go... Actually, I don't know now, but it should be higher than negative 77. See, now it's negative 81. Or I guess lower, technically. That's to compensate so you don't actually get like a lower height when you spin jump. Because if you do a regular jump, right, it's 84, and then the next one will be 81. So I guess technically you're losing 6 subpixels, but I don't think you losing 6 subpixels is going to make or break an obstacle. If it does, your obstacle is way too precise. So, but yeah, this custom sprite will be available. I have compiled pretty much everything I want to release. I just have to test it to make sure I didn't, like, you know, leave things in that weren't supposed to be in there or make things break. Once I do that, I can release everything. But yeah, throughout the entire hack, throw blocks, keys, I had to make a custom key. I could release that, but I have to erase a bunch of like level specific things that were in that same file. But I have custom keys that also have this same thing where you can hold jump and then grab, or vice versa. But the throw block one will be at the very least released and hopefully easy to use. Also, the intended strategy is to throw it up. I've seen people like do this, which I guess you can do, but I'll make you throw it up. Then we have this, yeah, disco shell. Chuck gate. The one thing I did in this game is every single chuck gate is unique in some shape, way, or form, usually unique to the level's theme. In this level's theme, the blue chucks, they're just kind of buffed versions of regular chucks. So in this case, this one jumps omega high. In level 2, he shovels rocks at like a rate of like 30 times a second. Well, not actually, but they shovel rocks way faster. In the Pablo's Paradise, he shoots footballs. He kicks footballs mad fast. Like, they're just buffed versions of chucks, and I'd put them in here. Another example of screen scrolling. Basically, I think it's right when he passes chuck. Around here. Yeah, right when you get to this point. I think this one I actually have not used the custom... Oh no, it does use the custom block. Maybe level 2 is when I started doing it. But anyways. Screen scrolls right. Force it to scroll right so it can stop at this position. Oh. And in this situation, the sprite block is right below this, because you need to land on this platform to continue. And I don't think you're gonna miss the sprite block if you land on this block. So that's the way to ensure that you actually control the screen. I think the last camera sprite was based off a timer. I'd have to check, but like I said, every situation is gonna be different. And it's very specific, which is why the camera sprite's coded so that I can determine the exact prerequisites to scroll the screen. I mean, I'll release this camera spray, but man, I can't. It's gonna be hard to explain how to actually use it. If you want to be efficient with it, you're gonna have to look at these numbers. You're gonna have to use this Lewis script to see all these numbers. You're gonna have to use this memory view to see the exact time. But I don't know if people are actually gonna do that or know how to do that. But if you know how to do it, man, the screen scrolls so much smoother. Oh, I meant to spin it up there. Another thing I did here is I wanted to make every time you have to do a low bounce at least 3 blocks high, because if you do like a bounce off the whatever enemy at the highest possible point and you push jump on the first possible frame you can do regrab, you'll actually die to the muncher because you're too high. So if you look at this Rex, right, the muncher is 2 tiles above it, which goes against everything I just said, but that's why the munchers to the right of it are slightly higher. So that way, if you do get this frame perfect, height perfect bounce off the Rex, you shouldn't die. Let me see if I can actually die here. That's a high bounce. High bounce. Yeah, you can see that I barely cleared the muncher. That's just to ensure you don't get somehow unlucky trying to do the trick. Like actually unlucky, because you get the highest possible pixel to bounce off of it and the first possible jump input. I'm even trying to do that right now. I'd have to manipulate my jump height to actually demonstrate that you can die if you get like a low bounce. Right now I'm getting high bounces, but it's more like a death that just feels bad, if anything. Even though you did it, like, I'm trying to eliminate deaths that just feel bad, rather than just, you know, like if you died at a high bounce, you're like, oh shoot. Rather than you died at a low bounce, you're like, dang, I can get scammed. But apparently, I can't do this right now. But that's basically the idea of why you see a low bounce setup with a ceiling of munchers. The munchers will 90% of the time be 3 tiles above the thing you're spinning off of. Hello, Rubu, how you doing? And then another example of don't know what's in the block. Doesn't matter because of the setup. And then here, not much to talk about. The only thing I was concerned of is these last 2 Rexes. This one and this one. So this would be an example of where the sprite offsetter, if I were to go back to it, I would use it for this, because I think it's this Rex and this Rex. These are the 2 Rexes right here in the level, and they're gonna spawn based on your movement. F3, what's F3? F3, hello. Apparently I don't know my, okay. Oh, it's this. I don't know my own hotkeys for my keyboard. Where the heck is F3? Where did my lines go? My lines. Anyways, this is the screen of the game, right? And as I said, you basically spawn sprites about 2 screens off screen. So if we go back to this. Not this Rex. So here is where I spawned the first Rex. Here is where I spawned the second Rex. So this area between here and here, I make it so you basically hold right the entire time. Because when you hold right the entire time, you can make the spawning consistent, because there'll always be a set amount of time after the first one spawns. The problem is when you want to do something like this. So if I hold right the entire time, right? That's what the Rexes look like. But if I do something like this, where I don't hold right the entire time, the Rexes spawn a little differently. But I ended up not changing this because it didn't really matter how you did that movement. The Rex is lined up so that you can always spin jump off of them. So here you can see that I spin jumped off of it, but it's in a little different position as opposed to if I just hold right the entire time. That's why I left it. It would have been a problem if I had done something like this, right? And then like, for example, this Rex is like, imagine it was like way higher. Then that would be a problem. And it's situations like this where you need to be aware of as a creator, because as a player, right, as a blind player, you're not going to know that you doing an obstacle this way is going to affect how the level is going to be played out with this Rex spawning differently. Right? It shouldn't be up to the players to manipulate their movement to make an obstacle work. So that's what I try to eliminate with... Well, that's why the sprite officer is so goated, because you can place sprites on the same Y position. Because if they're on the same Y position, they're going to spawn at the exact same time. So that way you can offset the sprite's location after they spawn, and then they'll always be the same. But in situations like this, where if you're doing like, trying to do some, you know, movement without realizing you're not supposed to do that, that's where it would cause issues. But again, because of how you doing this, thankfully, doesn't really make that obstacle impossible, I decided to keep it. Like, if you want to really ensure things spawn properly, I could have like a muncher kind of like ceiling like this, so that way you can't do this weird left-right thing. And there are going to be subtle situations in the hack where, well, probably not as much because I do use an offsetter, so I don't have to worry about it. But there will be situations where I force a movement so that I can force the player to spawn. That way the player doesn't have to worry about spawning an enemy or a certain sprite at a specific point relative to another sprite, because the level does it for you with forcing movement. So that's why that is like that. And these are very like subtle things you have to really keep in mind as a level creator. And then we get to the pipe. I'm gonna save here because... Okay, so this question mark block's on the right side. This is randomly spawned when you enter this room. It can either be on the left or the right. And... now it's on the left. So it is RNG dependent. And the nice thing I did about this hack is basically RNG runs every frame, like the RNG seed, and you can actually manipulate it based on your inputs. So you can see that it's on the left side. Like I saved, I entered the pipe right from the safe state. It's always going to be the same amount of time to this point, so it's not like a different time. But if I do like, you know, like I did, just spam inputs. Well, how did I get in first? Left there. Yeah, see, now it's on the left, so you can... Well, basically, this is saying it'll always be random. There's not really gonna be, like, it's always gonna be left or right. And then this is basically the first troll. The way this works is the moment you jump off this platform, it starts moving. Even if I jumped off it, like right here, right? It'll move to the right. So that way, it'll always start moving right when you're trying to do the jump. And then here's another example of the friendly hitbox. This is like more friendly than the Mario Maker invisible hitbox, because man, I'm like balls deep inside the corner of it and like I won't hit it. Probably gonna hit that one though. Yeah, basically once you hit the corner. But you can be like inside of it and not hit it. Again, I want to be lenient with the dodging it. And then if I were to die to it... What? It didn't increase the Kaiser block Sid. I'm a fraud, dude. I forgot to make it include one Kaiser block hit. Well, inaccurate counter, guys. Should be at 1. But yeah, if you hit it, it'll respawn in a different spot next time you get back here. Yeah, we did level 1. Dude, that took an hour to explain level 1? Dude, there's no shot I'm gonna finish this today. Sorry, give me a second. Blow my nose. Hey, at least you got to listen to the TTYD, not TTYD, sorry, the Mario Paper Mario banger. Well, one level down. Like I said, I'm gonna be a big yapper, man. I'm gonna be talking about literally everything, as much as I can think of. And I'm just on the next level Lunar Magic. But yeah, this is a nerd moment. When I make my next hack on stream, I won't be talking, but I'll be focused, but I'll be locked in and answering questions. So Gluttony. TTYD soon, yeah. Oh, wait, for funsies, we're doing this on, oh, I gotta explain the pipe respawning. Hold on, we're doing this run for funsies. One run, alright. And then I'm going back to explain. I'm a big keyboard guy. Oh, look, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Oh, okay, well, anyways. I actually do prefer playing on keyboard. Yeah, I'm gonna make my next hack on stream. I would actually do it right now, but the problem is I'm out of ideas. Well, and I also need to work on a Dram 3 clip compilation. And I need to work on releasing the resources for the hack. I'm almost done though. Hopefully I can release the resources by like tomorrow or Saturday. Shell hack? I'll make a shell level. So, this pipe's here. And that is because I have a custom code where, I'll go back to Lunar Magic. This pipe is always here, but if oh, you can't see what I hover. I'll do that later. Basically something called conditional map 16, and that makes it so that a block placed in the level won't actually show up if the bit is set for that flag. And the way I have it set up is the game check. Can I open up this code? Is it coding time, guys? Look how many tabs I have, man. I always have like 4 rows of ASM files at all times. Here. I'm in the way. Also, you gotta like put your binoculars on. I don't want to move myself. Let me do this. I don't feel like zooming it in. Here, we'll do this. You can kind of see that. Sure, good enough. Yeah, sure, here. So this code right here is basically what lets you show the pipe once you beat the level. Long story short, this code's like, check the level that you're currently in. Has it been beaten? No? Then don't activate this bit. Yes? Alright, activate this bit, and then you're done. If the bit's activated, this pipe shows up. If not, it does not show up, as you saw. So it's not too bad in Lunar Magic because you can just right click on it and then, or not right click, you gotta like do some editor thing, which I'll do later, but that way you can have, you know, things set to, after you beat the level, I don't know, go to a checkpoint or something. That's what I do it for, go to the checkpoint. But if you want to like hide a secret or something, I don't know, you can do that too. It's the same idea as if you collect all 5 dragon coins for like vanilla hacks, you'll hide things behind it. Or if you like collect all the moons or all the 1-up mushroom or 1-up thingies, same idea. But for this, I just do it so when you beat the level, then you can have that check. So that's something I forgot was a thing. And then you go in here. Boop. Look, we're in the checkpoint. Yay! Oh, I'm a big commenter for... You want to see some of the comments I wrote? This is a no, let's do something actually. Here's a Jump King code. I'm gonna release this too, but look at the commenting I did for it. Look at all this comment. Look at this guy commenting code, man. Man, sometimes I have to read code that's not commented, and I'm like, why? It's helpful for me because I wrote this code like a year ago. I gotta remember what it does. I forgot who said it, but it really stuck with me where it's like, you're never like, in terms of coding, you're never doing a project by yourself. Because it's always going to be you, future you, and past you. And past me, gotta make sure future me doesn't regret working with past me. Although sometimes there were times where I did not comment. We don't talk about those times. But yeah, try to comment as much as possible. Anyways, level 2. Okay, if it takes me an hour a level to explain, we're not getting through this. I'll try to get through World 1. But who knows, maybe I'll explain faster because I explained the bulk of it in level 1. So this is based off of a vanilla snake creating eating block movement, which I actually don't know much about because I never really made snake blocks. But apparently, if it goes off track, it'll like do this. And I was like, that's cool. What if I made it do it in all directions? Because I think if it goes like straight down or straight up or straight left, actually if it goes left, does it go left? If it goes straight down or straight up, I think it disappears. Or does it go right or left? I don't know. Someone who does vanilla snakes can say that, but the idea behind this level is I wanted to make it so the snake block, when it goes off the track in any direction, it'll start, you know, shmoving. Hello, Jackson. I know you're curious about how the switches are, oh, we can talk about the switches actually, because that's in the next level. But for now, I'll talk about, yeah, I guess up until we get to the secret. So that's the basis behind this level. Snake blocks in every direction, or eating block in every direction. As it goes off the track, you have to do things with it. It's a vanilla bug only if you orient the last block in a certain pattern. Oh, yeah, I would not have known how to do that. That's why I coded this. We'll just go to the secret exit. I wanted to make every secret exit relatively easy to find. That's why you can see, like, up here, there's ground. It's like a majority of the secrets and portraits. And the secrets are generally within the first 5 seconds of the level. So we'll let's go here first. And then I just wanted to make every portrait with the secret, so that way you don't have to find a secret and a portrait. So you get to see Shubda, you get to see Link Dead, you get to see Hank Sinatra, and you get to see Poop. Because they're all in the secrets. Now we get the Yellow Switch Palace. I'll explain the rest of Gluttony later. Cool as a snake block thing. Alright, so this is a custom code I wrote. Is it I wrote? Yes and no. I think on Uber or on SNO Central, I think someone made an Uber ASM where you make sprites jump. But I modified it so that when you land on the ground with Yoshi, that's when sprites jump, not necessarily you. Yoshi's on the ground. So that's the basis for this level. And the idea came from a GDQ relay race level. I think it was 2022, I want to say. And it was basically the same idea, except it's you, not Yoshi, that lands on the ground, and then you make everything jump upwards. So I'm like, that's cool. I want to do that with a yellow Yoshi, because the idea behind every Switch Palace is a Yoshi. I wanted to see if I can make some sort of like ability associated with that Yoshi. For example, yellow Yoshi stomps when he eats like a shell or something. But now we Giga buffed him, so he'll make everything go upwards when he lands on the ground. And here, you actually get to see something pretty neat, and that is the fact that I can be so low on this Goomba and I'll bounce off of it. Okay, well, not that low. Let's see what the threshold is. Maybe this. That'll work. In vanilla SNW, you're not landing that low, you're gonna die. But because of the amount of falling enemies, like Yoshiman's feet is below this Goomba, and you can bounce off of it. So I quickly realized, because it is a recurring theme that you are supposed to bounce off falling things, I decided to Giga buff the landing area per enemy. Because in vanilla SNW, it probably like up to here maybe, before you would die. So I really had to, I guess, nerf landing on falling enemies, because I kept dying to the Goomba actually, and I was like, all right, I gotta make this easier to land on. How do you see the values? You gotta run a Lua script on a specific version of SNES 9X or BizHawk. If you're a ROM hack reader, I highly suggest using this. Let me find it actually, if you're curious. It's called like Super Mario Utils. No. Let's do, sure, do that. You need to run, for SNES Nice, you need to run an RR version, which lets you have Lua support. The latest one I think is 1.60. That's what I'm doing right now. BizHawk, I think it's any version, because BizHawk supports Lua scripts. But I don't use BizHawk because it's not as pretty. I like SNES Nice. It's very pretty, and it's a lot easier for me to use. BizHawk's Lua script, dude, it's like you're analyzing NASA. Like, if you think this is whatever with seeing stuff, BizHawk's script is like, dude, you get like 2 monitors, you get like 30,000 values you're looking at. That's a little overwhelming. I only see what I need to see. Like, even just explaining, I haven't had to really look at the memory viewer too much or any RAM addresses. I mean, you will have to when you actually make levels, but because I've already made them, I don't really need to see much about these. RAM Watch is nice because you can look at specific RAM addresses. This window is mainly what I use to look at sprite tables. So for example, if I wanted to see like values associated with this yellow Yoshi, he's in sprite slot 6. So any sprite table I'm looking at in this area down here, I would have to take that offset of 6. So in terms of the current address, I'm looking at 1594. It would be 1594 plus 6. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll look at 59A, 159A for Yoshi specific values. So that's why I have this up, in case I need to look at sprite specific things. But anyways, that's why there's a bunch of things on screen. How to make the portraits? I use a program for that. It's called SNES GFX, I think. I forget. I'll go into it later. Well, it doesn't require it. I just highly suggest it because you'll know exactly like the values of specific things, and it can help debug things. You're like, okay, why isn't this working? Why isn't this consistent? Or you can see exactly when sprites spawn. In situations, again, where I talked about you need to force a spawn at a specific spot, or you don't want the player to accidentally spawn something too early, when you see one of these numbers pops up, that's when you know it's spawned. And you can also know when it despawns too, the number disappears. So, you don't have to use it. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that's made a hack using like this. I don't think anyone else has ever just used the script and made a hack. But I'm very particular because I want to make things consistent. Which is why I have this open when I play. So, you can very much make cool and creative hacks and consistent hacks without touching any of this, but I want to know exactly what's going on when I make a level. Does it work in RetroArch? I have no idea. Probably not. I think the script only runs on the SNES 9X and BizHawk emulators. I've actually never used RetroArch in my life, so I don't know. And it has to be a specific version of SNES 9X that supports Lewis scripts. So I don't know. I've only really used SNES 9X. But anyways, in terms of this level, the other thing to keep in mind is Yoshi's tongue. You gotta be accurate with his tongue, right? It's not like Mario Maker where if you stick his tongue and like any part of the sprite touches the tongue, you'll just eat it. You gotta make sure it touches its, is that the uvula? Is that the word? The edge of it. You gotta make sure it touches that. I'm trying to avoid it. Yeah, so like here, right? It's not on his tongue until it touches that thingy. It's on his tongue. I thought about actually making it easier to tongue things, but I decided everyone needs to train their tongue game, okay? You need a good tongue game to be successful. Well, it's not true, but highly recommend a good tongue game, okay? Which apparently I suck at right now. Yoshi's code is a mess. I want to do more cool Yoshi tongue or Yoshi things, but I don't want to look at Yoshi's code. That's another reason why I didn't have a Yoshi sacrifice counter, because I didn't want to touch that code, man. But in the next hack, I do want to have a number of Yoshi sacrifice statistic. Oh my god, I'm bald, dude. Fun fact, you can just go through the top of the saw like that. I can't remember if that's a vanilla thing or it's something I messed up when I wrote my patches. But in any case, it didn't matter because it's fine. The limit of active sprites. You can have up to, on non-SA1, which this hack is. I don't want to do SA1 at the moment. You can have up to 11. But by the time you get to 9, it can start lagging. So 0 through 9, and then, well, I guess 12, because 0 through 9 is 10, and AB, so 12, I guess. So there's this thing where, I mean, it's been shown off accidentally, I think. So if you're curious, you can actually have sprites go through the ceilings. And that's just depending on the sprite. Some sprites, they don't have ceiling collision written in their code. So you can do that if you want. That's just a little funsy thing. Oh yeah, we can talk about the hitboxes on this spike. So first, this is the first instance with spikes, and let me go to Sullen Lunar Magic. This is the second level I ever made for the hack, if you're curious. If you open up the ROM in Lunar Magic, the level number is basically the order I made the level. Level 1 is the special level, that's the first level I made. Level 2 is the ocean level, or the second level I made. Level 3 is the Ultra Star level, third level I made, etc. But here we can talk about the spike hitboxes. So in a normal SNW, the spike hitbox would have the same hitboxes as Muncher right here, right? It's like a square. So you basically, touch the side of it. It's not great Muncher to demonstrate, but If this looked like a spike, right, you would die here. For example, this spike right here, you would die touching like right here because it's just a perfect square. But someone made a custom block where it's called Pixel Perfect Spike. And it's basically what it says. The hitbox of the spike is what it looks like. So, example. I'm not dead. Well, one second on Yoshi because he bumped me up, but... Okay, Yoshi, get out of here. So I'm... Actually, let me check. Is this a pixel perfect one? Yeah. So in vanilla S&W, if I touch like right here, I would be dead by now. Oh, I died. Okay, well this spike isn't doing a great job being pixel perfect. We do one here. Yeah, you can kind of see here. Like, if this was an S&W spike, I would be dead by now. And it's more noticeable if you do like this. You can actually land between it. Graphically, it's accurate. See? I'm not dead. I'm even still not dead. Now I'm dead, but... That's one thing I made sure to implement because it actually tilts me when I die to something not visually correct. Like dying to Muncher is fine because it's visually like a square. But the spike, you have all this real estate that you're not supposed to die. However, when you're on Yoshi, apparently the hitbox detection is a little janky. You can actually go through it. So I actually had to replace some of them with actually normal hitboxes. But it's not in situations where it actually matters. Where you're going to like run into the spike with a setup. It's really only in the blue switch palace actually. It's only on the sideways spikes. But there's no sideways spikes in this level. So that was something I wanted to mention. Pixel perfect spike. I want to make it more lenient as I could. Did I change Mario Hurtbox? Kind of. I did it for enemies, landing on falling enemies. I mean the hitbox a little wider. I mean, look at that. I'm in the saw and I'm not dead. So again, I wanted to make it always lean toward lenient. Especially with my setups that are generally really hard. And we have a little dolphin. Fun fact, I had to code the dolphin's jump height to be a little different because its falling physics are a little different. Because if it uses the same value as every other sprite, it gets launched to outer space. So here, I don't know what I said, but you can see it falls way slower, right, than a normal sprite. That's why I had to lower that value. Here we can talk about some Yoshi stuff. So there's a lot of Yoshi things I don't want to say fixed, but made more consistent. So, we might have to bring out a RAM address. I gotta go to the snwcentral.net and look up a specific address. Is it turn timer? Okay, maybe I don't have to. If I can't find it, I'm not going to display it. It's not a big deal. Just trying to find the RAM address that determines how long you're turning around. Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. So the way this works is, oh, player direction. I'll do that actually. That's 76. Get out of your troll counter. So player direction. So I made it basically that the direction you're holding is the direction you're going to spit out something, which isn't the case in normal S&W. In normal S&W, you would spit it out based on where Yoshman is currently facing. So here he's still facing right. But it doesn't take until like 8 frames until he faces left. So here he faces left. And if you were to spit out the shell, it would go left. And vice versa, right? Left, spitting out left. Spit out right. That's if you spit it out and you don't hold any direction. That's vanilla spitting out things, right? So let's do it in slow-mo. Alright, I'm only holding B and Y. So I pushed Y, so Yoshi's going to spit out the shell. Notice how where he's facing. Spits out right. But I made it so even if he faces right, alright, I'm going to push right here and spit out the shell. It will spit it out to the left. Even though he's visibly to the right. So that way, you're not stuck on having to wait for this animation to finish before wanting to spit it out. So you can reliably and consistently spit out a specific direction. And then he'll just turn around immediately. That's another patch I'm going to release with the resources. Alright, you can face whatever direction. I'm just going to hold right the entire time. But yeah, in this instance, I need to hold left, so left. Well, that time I held right too early. And use another example, you can just go through the shell if you want. Boop. It's a buff. I'm buffing it. Or it's a nerf. It's free. And then these are custom blocks that someone wrote, where even if you don't jump, but you just fall off, it'll disappear. I lied. Ignore me. These are not the ones. Those are different ones. I have actual blocks where if you just run off, they'll disappear, but not this. Or is it if you're on Yoshman? No, they're different ones. But there are blocks in the hack where I make it so even if you fall off, they'll disappear. It's basically in the Luigi level, but I guess I use not that one, not that version, this one. Can you Yoshi midair? No, I don't think so. You're too slow. You need to be at least 48 or 9 speed, I think. Nothing much here to talk about, then just made spikes. These are sprites, I just made them an obstacle. Nothing too crazy about this one. Here's kind of an example where you can do it with one. I don't think you should ever hit this spike though. Since it's a custom one. Oops. Like if you do a low bounce, oh you can. But that's an example where I want you to, or a lot of steps I have are, well, because I'm on Yoshi, I'm like a block higher. I guess that's different, but if I were a regular height, it wouldn't have killed me. But that's why this spike's up here. Because you can either just go for it, or you can eat it again to make sure you absolutely will not hit that spike. But I think it's in a position where this isn't going to really affect you. I don't think anyone's really died a little bounce there, so it's fine. Nothing crazy here. Oh, you want to see that shell go whoop? 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 Yeah, it's got no collision on top. Anyways. We added that kicking indicator because way too many people were trying to drop it, and I was like, not like this. I think he'll land pretty low on this chuck too. Yeah, chuck bouncing in midair is pretty lenient too. It's got a pretty high window because it's also a little taller. Yeah, like look where I am. So it's got a nice window. And then these munchers are sprites, that's why they go up. These are custom spikes. So if you touch this spike, it'll increment the troll counter. But this the munchers are different color to kind of hit at the troll. This one did not get a lot of people, which is kind of what I wanted. You know, it's still the beginning of the hack. Gotta show some mercy. Yay, we get to the yum part. Hold on. We can explain some yum things. So I'm going to open up the level in Lunar Magic here. And if you open up in Lunar Magic, you're going to see this text is on by default. That is because the is it a custom trigger I use? Manual trigger. So you can check which triggers are on for X animation in here. I got to make it so you can actually see what I'm seeing. But if I do this, manual trigger increment. Okay, I don't want to touch this actually. I don't know what this does in Lunar Magic. Basically, this is saying if a specific, I think I check a specific bit. If a specific bit is set, you will display this text. If not, you don't have to worry about it. Let me go open up the actual code. If I remember where it is. Hold on. Hackermans. This is level 142. Here we go. Okay. So this is the code I wrote to detect if you are on your last yump or your last switch palace. I didn't comment this, guys. I'm a failure. See, this is where I started to get lazy. No commenting. So I got to read what I wrote. So first off, the very first thing is what I talked about, where if I check to see if this is your last switch palace, then you can set some X animation value to check, which displays the text in the level, which is the subroutine set switch conditional. If you look into it, basically says wait, I have no idea what this is. All right, let's ignore that because I don't remember what I wrote. So we had to go to the actual switch detection things. Basically, what I first do, checked yump. This holds the value of how many yumps you've had. So if you had 3 yumps, you're done. 3 for 3 means the last yump doesn't matter. So you don't need to display that text, nor do you need to worry about it killing you. So that's why it's the first thing you do, because if you get 3 yumps, you are 100%. There's nothing. That's the easiest way to tell you're in the last switch palace. So that's taken care of. Now for this. So we're in the yellow switch palace. We basically take the level number, which is 2 in Lunar Magic. And okay, I don't know if I can explain this. What did I do? This is kind of impressive. I think I check if this level has been beaten. Oh, that's what I do. So basically, one by one, go through the levels. Check yellow switch palace. Has it been beaten? Yes or no? In this case, it's no. Green switch palace, also no. Blue switch palace, also no. Red switch palace, also no. So every time you beat a switch palace, it increments a counter. It says, okay, that's the number of switch palaces you've beaten. So when that value gets to 3, that's when you also that's when you start the check of, okay, now you know you're in your last switch palace. Hey, look, I wrote one line of code right here. See, don't display a 3 for 3 yumps or non-switch palace. So that is basically the check. Have these switches been beaten? Count total. So this counts the total of beaten switch palaces. So if it's anything less than 3, it don't matter. Just abort. And you need all 4 because this is to ensure that people, they can do the switches in whatever order. If they want to leave the green switch palace last, right? They beat yellow switch, they beat blue, they beat red. The total number is going to be 3. And then you start to check. And then here's where I apparently set the percentages. Oh yeah, this is for in the actual level itself. So that sets up the number of yumps and the percentage chance. And then additionally, because I only set up the text, not the actual values, you have to write custom blocks that detect that first off detect the yump, and then second off detect the probability. This is written in ASM. You use Uber ASM for the displaying the text. Now use a Gopher popcorn stew. Stew? Is that what the GPS is? For custom blocks. And where the heck is the yump one? Yump. It's in my helper folder. You don't want to know how many custom blocks I have. Do you want to see how many custom blocks I have? These are all the custom blocks I have. Still going, still scrolling. Oh, this is it. I have a bajillion, dude. And a lot of them are like just for one specific level. But I didn't run out of space. If I ran out of space, I might have to actually start consolidating my code, but here's Yump. Yump L, because you need one for left and right, because the switch palace is 2 blocks wide. So here at the top, we have the same RAM value. I guess I can actually pull it up in RAM watch. 0F3B. So that holds the number of yumps. And you need some free RAM, level specific. This is basically the same code in the other era file. Check to see if they're beaten. If it's not 3, you're not on the last switch. Ignore all this. And then when we get to the actual final switch, this is where you set the probability. And thankfully, some people have written custom, like, ranged RNG. Like, basically pick a number from 0 to X. Here, it would just be pick a number from 0 to... what do I have? 3? Well, I guess it'll depend, because 75% would be 3 out of 4, right? 50% would be... you can just pick 1 out of 2. 25%... well, 25% you could do 1 out of 4. 75% you can also do 1 out of 4, but choose the opposite of that. Kind of a thing. So I basically, like, pick a number between 1 and X, and then is it equal to... what do I make it? I think just 0. Or pick a number between 0 and 3. So for the 25% chance, is it equal to 0? And then for the 75% chance, is it not equal to 0? So that way it was like more efficient. And that's where you get the 25% chance of dying with 2 yumps, 75% chance of dying with no yumps, 1 yump, 50%. And then I have the check up here where it's the check yump. So if you get the yump, then don't care about any of this. So that's basically how I determine what's the last possible switch and determine the odds and also display the text. And then it's basically the same code for right, I think. Probably, I don't know. But left and right are basically the same thing. Oh, if I close the window, it automatically disappears. Wait a minute. New developments for the streaming side. You know, what's going on, Willie? I hope you don't hate me yet. You love RNG implementations. Barb doesn't. But here we will look at this value, yumps. So if I don't hit it, it's 0. If I hit it, watch this, all right? On keyboard, first try yump. I said first try yump. See? Now it's 1. First try yump. But that value is also saved. So, oh, again, dude. Absolute God Gamer. Actually, can I use L and R? I think based on how I wrote the code, I can actually use L. So my L button is Z or C. Dang it. Oh, if you want, you can use L or R to jump too. Oh yeah, there's a little weird. I think some patch I wrote made this happen, but Yoshman like runs when he's on the Switch. He normally doesn't do that. I suck at jumps. But yeah, the strat is you push B and then A. So you make it a 2-frame window, and if you push A too early, you do this, right? Then you get another try. If you're super lucky, you do that and you get another try. See, it's the strat, man. It's free. It's free. No, you can't push forward because the moment you push A, you're just off Yoshman. Alright? So if you wanted to do like B, then L, then A, that third A doesn't matter because you're already off Yoshman. So B, then L, then A. You're already off Yoshman. The A doesn't matter. So at most it's a 2-frame window. But again, Yoshman actually helps with jumps because of that. See? For now, I'll actually do the jump. For now, I'll just have it go 1. I forget when it saves. I think it doesn't save until I actually exit this. So for example, now the level's being, I think it saves. Let's find out. No, it's not until you get to this. Oh wait, no, I think I calculated. I have to see how I calculate it. If it doesn't show up here, then I have it calculated later. Oh no, see, it's 1. Save that RAM. Jam lighting and design. Thank you for the 4 raid. Welcome raiders. You're just in time for me to do some yapping. This yapping is taking way longer than I want, but I guess it also depends if people like the yapping for an hour a level. Who knows? But that's that level. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about that level. 24-hour stream. Nope. I'll try to get through World 1 first. Again, I will be making my next hack on stream, and we will do lots of yapping. Nothing really to yap about here. Actually, okay, so this throw block's actually a custom throw block, and it's to prevent you from doing an accidentally frame perfect, subpixel perfect trick. So basically, if you approach the throw block at a slow enough speed and you grab it at a specific position, you're not going to get stopped by the throw block. You're just going to grab it and keep going forward. But this makes it so no matter what, you're always going to get stopped. And that way you can just go to the right. I make sure to prevent you from accidentally doing like frame perfect tricks you're not trying to do and eliminate that. That's like not really in your control. Accidentally doing something subpixel perfect. So you'll notice I always like pause here. So that's something, a little small thing I did. Oops, I pushed jump. Apparently there's actually cheese here. If you like do this, let me see. You can like do this. Oh! If you hit that on off, you can just continue. But it's like kind of hard actually. Oh! It's not worth it. It's not cheese. It's beef because it's harder. That's what someone said. For like a cheese that's harder. Yeah, so you can just do that if you want. You know, what's up, V-Sweat? This all is really hard. I don't know how far you got, but I had to nerf this because I spent an hour on it and I couldn't beat it, so I had to nerf it. So now you're playing the Omega nerfed version. The big empty jump. I gotta remember what that is. Alright, let's see what this is in Lunar Magic. How did I set this camera up? Oh, okay, so this is another example of the camera won't scroll until you do what I want you to do, kind of thing. And what I want you to do is set this on off. So if we actually, oh, we can pull up a RAM address. I think it's 1411. Am I remembering correctly? Let's find out. I am. Oh, perfect. Okay. So, I'm gonna call this scroll right. So if scroll right is 1, that basically means the screen can scroll right. If it's 0, that means the screen will not scroll ever. So right now it's 0. So this is the exact moment where I'm like, all right, stop scrolling the screen and do what I want you to do. So these are custom on-off blocks where it basically tells you once you get the on-off, you can start scrolling again. Kind of. And I say kind of because if you look in Lunar Magic, this up here is actually the camera sprite. And basically this block basically says, once you get this on-off block, move this sprite to where Mario is. I could have coded it so that it just doesn't have this, but then I'd have to like spawn it in. And spawning a sprite with code can be a little annoying. So I figured I'm just going to place this here and then move it. Because this is in an inaccessible spot. You cannot grab this. And you can actually see, oh, my item box text is in the way. You see the 7 right here. That's where the sprite is. So when I hit this on off, you're going to see the 7 go right on top of me. There it is. And it doesn't matter if you hit one block and then the next. I'm trying to do. Okay, we're going to bust out the task try, guys. Can't do it. Basically, if you hit one and then the other on-off block, it still works because it's the same code. Basically, move it to where Mario is. You know, it's already on top of him. Like that. See? Well, now I'm not prepared, but it's on Mario still. And now, even though this scroll right still says 0, that's because it won't actually start until you're on the right side of the screen. If you're on the left side of the screen, still don't scroll, because I don't want you to scroll the screen backwards. So the moment Mario gets into the region where you can start scrolling the screen, which is about right here, you notice scroll right is now 1. And the screen successfully starts scrolling. So that's an example of a custom block that I made. Well, I shouldn't say made, because this on-off block is already a custom block. Basically just added my code to it so that the screen can scroll when I want it to. But that's how that setup works. And I think that might be one of the last unique ways I stop and start scrolling. So any other time you see this, probably won't go into as much depth as I can just say this is the same setup. These, you know, here. Now for the snake block here, this is also a custom block. These death blocks, they're slightly shorter than a normal death block. Shorter, I mean like hitbox wise, because if this was an actual like muncher, for example, me standing right here means I die, because this snake block actually moves Mario down like 2 pixels when he's on top of it, which means he's going to be in the detection radius of the death block or muncher. So by making this death block's hitbox shorter than where Mario's standing on, I can, you know, move around and not actually die. Like, look how far I am and I'm not dead yet until I actually fall off here. And you see Mario fall off because this is the falling down animation. And you can see then he dies when he's like a little lower on the block. And Yeah, it just makes doing this less annoying. Otherwise, you have to like do this, like so super far left. But now you can just, you know, move around. Yeah, that's why every time you have to go left and then right. I mean, if you only had to go right, then there would be no need to stop the camera. It's only when you go left, the screen's gonna scroll left, so I have to stop it. And then I have to start when you actually want to go right again. And that's why it's so smooth. Here, we can talk about the spawning. So this is a good example of the sprite offsetter that I'm talking about. So going into Lunar Magic here, you're going to notice that on the top of the screen, there's a lot of custom sprites. So anytime you see these X's, and if you notice, you're on the same Y position. When they're in the same Y position, they spawn at the exact same time. And these are sprite offsetters, which says, you know, spawn a sprite a specific amount of blocks away from where it is right now. And for this one, spawn it 1 to the left, so you can see where it's supposed to be attached. For this one, spawn it 4 to the right, so you can see it is on this one. And that is to ensure that these snake blocks are on the exact same path at the exact same time relative to each other. So, you know, this one's chowing down. By the time it gets to here, this snake block will always be like right here. So that way you don't have to manipulate spawns or have the player spawn these, you know, close to how you want them to. They literally just spawn and you're good to go. So that happens here too. This one is all the way down here. These 3 are all the way up here. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, they all are going to start at the same exact time. And that is important because of the setup here. How these blocks are currently moving, they will be in the exact same spot every single time. So you go boom, 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 boom. So you don't have to worry about spawning 4 different things when it's just one time. They're all spawned at the same time. So that's how that setup is very consistent. This all taught you how Snake works. I'm glad they did. Yo, what's going on, Drew? Are you going to GDQ? I meant to message you and I kept forgetting. And then likewise, if we go to this, actually, you've seen the hacks, so you probably don't care about spoilers. But when we get to here, here's another example. These 3. I think these 2 are just camera sprays, so it doesn't matter where they are. Yeah. So this is actually the chuck that shoots rocks at you. So the chuck that shoots rocks at you, this snake block up here and this snake block up here will always spawn at the same time. Which means that you don't have to worry about timing that part. The one potential tricky part is because these 4 and these 3 spawn at different times. Can I get my thing back? Here. So these sprites won't spawn until I'm like, I think right here. Let's see. So we're looking for what numbers for these. So basically see an 8. So when you see, oh, I already made a safe state. I made 2 safe states. Oh, here we go. So you can see that they spawn shortly after I scroll the screen. So like right here, that's when they spawn. And I think I set it up so it doesn't matter when I get here. So I'm trying to, like, for example, if I get here earlier or later. Oh yeah, that's what I did. Okay, so this chuck actually isn't going to start throwing rocks until the snake block hits a specific custom block. So that way it's not dependent on when you spawn it. It's subject to when the snake block moves and hits it. So that way you don't have to worry about, like, for example, landing on this rock. This rock will always be, you know, at this spot when the snake block is here, no matter how early or late I spawned it. And I do that by having a custom block. Where is it? This one right here. The moment this snake block eats this block, it will begin the chuck shooting out rocks. So it will position the rocks at the same spot every time. Perhaps you should. You can go talk to Hito. I think he's getting a room. You might be able to see it in the Lua script here. I think this value right here, it's like 230 something right now. If it's displaying the right value, otherwise we can look in the memory view. So the moment it's going to eat this block. Oh, yeah. Or I guess touch the block. This 233 on the right, you can see it goes to 10. So that way I set up this is the timer for like when it wants to throw a rock. So now I can see it's going to throw a rock. There. So that way you can always land on this guy, falling guy, at the same time, basically, when you bounce off one of these rocks. So the only thing that's a little spawn dependent, and I say a little, is because it's a matter of a few frames. And for this setup, a matter of a few frames is fine enough. Is this snake block on the right. Because this snake block on the right spawned at a different time relative to the first snake block that I was demonstrating. So depending on when it spawned it, it'll be a few frames like at the spot before or later. But because it's such a very small window, probably like a few frame window, like this is the amount of time I basically have as a leeway. Like if this snake block was like closer to here, then I would have to force the player to spawn it really late. But because I gave you enough leeway, it doesn't matter if you spawn it too early or too late. If you're too early, you still gotta wait for it a little. If you're too late, well, you can't be because, you know, you have all this time. And by too early, I mean like spawn it too late. I mean, obviously, you take your sweet time, you're not gonna make it. Well, I guess I almost did even though. Basically saying, even if you were to bust your chops, you wouldn't be punished because you spawned something late. Is basically what I'm trying to say. And then all these snake blocks, again, they're in sync with each other. I missed. You can also skip this one. This one right here, but I just jumped off it because it's whatever. Do I care about F and AF2? No, I don't. I don't watch movies. I just play SNW and cry. You skip this one? Yeah, you can skip it. So now going back to this. Another example of the offsetter. These two spawn at the same time, so these two always be in the same relative to each other. Same thing up here. So basically all the snake blocks will always be in sync with each other. And then all these down here just camera blocks. So I don't need to explain too much about those ones, but and then back here was another camera thing where it stops the screen like right here or something. And then once you pass the boundary like right here, it'll start scrolling again. So that's why these two camera blocks are here. A little simple with this, but I can't talk. A little simple flips. How you doing? I'm glad you enjoy watching people play. You could also play this, but it's a little challenging. So back to, what was I saying? So these two respond at the same time. They're in the same cycle. So all this will be at the same. You can tell because they're on the exact same X position right now. I just lined it up like that. I made it so if you bonk on the side of this, you will not make it. Trying to bonk on it. Yeah, see? So you have to strategically not bonk. You may be inclined. Good luck. It's taking people over 100 hours, so if you want to invest the time, I respect it. Good luck with your semester, if not already. So here we have it. What part did I nerf? That jump I was talking about that you can skip. Here, I can show. This jump I nerfed. This was way harder to land on. That's why these two are so close to each other now, and as a result, you can just skip it. I nerfed this door. It used to be 1 tile tall, but I missed the door 5 times, and I was like, we're gonna nerf that. I got to the end 5 times and missed, so I was like, we gotta make it 2. And then, not really nerf, I made this less jank. We'll talk about some of the potential jank, but right now, those are the biggest culprits. This rock part was insanely difficult. Like the first iteration. This was before I had this custom block to make it consistent. Because I did it a few times and I was like, I kind of need you to land on this falling one at the same time relative to when this rock gets shoveled out. So when I fixed that, it made this a lot better. And I think the rest I didn't really nerf. There's a, depending on your definition of jank, there's a little. But we're talking about the springboard right here. This springboard is a little special in 2 different ways. Way number 1 is you actually cannot grab it. So I'm going to hold Y. So I'm holding Y, and you notice I'm not grabbing it. That's just to make it easier on inputs, so you don't have to like let go of Y. I think some people still do it anyways, but I just want to make that easier. And I think in this situation, you're not even going to really try to grab it. There's a few instances of ungrabbable springboards, and there's actually one in Disguise that I think people actually tried to grab. And I figured that I actually didn't want to let anyone know about this ungrabbable springboard because I didn't want to add more like specific sprites you'd have to memorize. Like I was gonna make this maybe like a yellow or a blue springboard, but I decided I'm not gonna tell anyone because it's gonna be more information for them to digest, and I think them not knowing is not gonna impact their ability to do this obstacle. There's actually 3 things about the springboard. That's the first thing. The second thing is you saw how I just went through it, right? If it was a normal springboard, I'd get pushed to the side. And that is to make it so it's easier to land on it from the, as it's falling from above, instead of having to be precisely like at an angle. So you can see that I'm just like up in the middle of it. And I'm still gonna land on it. Now again, to nerf the jump and make it easier. And then number 3 is you can actually land on this pretty low and it'll work. Let me use this save state, yeah. So, if we approach this at, it's a little too low. So like right here, that'll work. That'll work. So you can get pretty dang low on the springboard. If you use a normal springboard, it would have to be a little higher up. Probably like, maybe a little lower than that. Again, just things to nerf this, because this springboard is a little challenging. I missed it a bunch, and I was like, we gotta nerf it. And then here's another example of the camera block. So you can see the screen is actually scrolling to the right here. So I can force the screen to stop at that moment. And it'll stop scrolling if you're too close to the wall, so like that, for example. But even that's fine, because as long as the screen is a certain distance away from you, that can make it so that the screen will stop, and then you can start the check for when you want to enable the screen scrolling. Which is important because based on how I coded it, if the screen doesn't get to its position first, things could potentially break. Like if you check that the screen will scroll with the enable and then but it didn't get to this position yet. So that's another way to ensure I stop and start the screen when I want you to. Because the last thing I want is for... I know it's happened a few times, but I was able to fix it, thankfully, because I knew exactly what happened. But the last thing I want to do is you do everything I want you to correctly, but the screen doesn't scroll because something didn't work. Which actually happened here. There was an instance on this part where the screen wouldn't scroll to the right anymore, and then I was like, huh? And it turns out it's because I messed up despawning the rocks. I made Dwayne Johnson not despawn, and I was like, oh, that's kind of overwriting some stuff that I need to check. So now that we fixed that, this should always scroll the screen. So that's another example of just wanting the screen to stop scrolling. And then you can see you get to the right side of the screen, start scrolling again. Alright, let's see if we can display the first potential. Not really jank, but I say not jank because the player doesn't have to worry about it because of how I fixed it, but I can probably show it off to a more exaggerated degree here. So as you know, the snake block moving piece is going to go shoot upwards because it's going up. But the way the game handles interaction with this is it will check if you're moving downwards. If you're not moving downwards, then don't interact with it, at least from the top. That's why when you go land on a dolphin and you jump, right? You'll just go through it sometimes. That's basically the same idea as this. So what I had to do was I made it so you can move up a little and then it will determine, or it will allow you to interact with the top of the block. But I make it such a marginally small amount that it shouldn't actually like jank you out. I think if you're moving at like a speed of 10 or something upwards, it'll still interact with you. So this number right here, minus 44, if it's less than 10, minus 10, so it's, minus 11, 12, whatever. I think I set to minus 10. I'm going to try to do, like, for example, minus 38, right? Okay. This is why I say it's hard to exaggerate it. I'm bringing back the tasking days, guys. Maybe this. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute. Not even exaggeration can work. It actually worked there. So basically, you see I'm going upwards and it snaps me to the block. If this was the normal interaction, right, I would still be moving up. The block would just go straight through me and then I would like clip off the sides of it. But like, look at my speed, minus 37. Oh, I guess that time I'm too low. Oh, look at this guy. All right, there's no jank in this. Because I'm moving up really fast and it snaps me to it. So, that was one of the potential jank issues that I had to overcome. My next course of action in the future is I want to implement that for dolphins. So that way you don't actually, like, go through them when you don't want to. And then here we have another camera scrolling here. So you can see the camera starts scrolling when I reach past a certain point, which is usually always past like a spike. Like I'll have setups where the spikes are laid down like a V kind of, reverse V. Because that ensures you have to hold right. So that way I start scrolling the screen as you're doing this to make it more smooth and more consistent. Rather than a spot where you're not really moving right, or there's a chance you won't move right. Because here you want to move right to catch this, so the screen will slowly catch up to you. That's another thing with the camera I wrote that's custom. This is a lot slower. It's a much more subtle camera movement here. You see how it's like very slowly catching up to you, as opposed to like abruptly catching up to you. I just like it for smoothness. I think it would be more natural. And it feels more natural. And some people might not even notice that the screen scrolled as they play. So that's why it's like that. And then again, because of how the offsetter... Wait, no, this one's not offset. This one's literally just eat the block and you already see the layout. So these will always be consistent. Carly Marks, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Welcome. And then, again, another nice use of the camera block is I can stop the screen right here. Right here. As opposed to having to go all the way here to stop it. That's why this camera block is here, so you can stop the screen exactly right here. Hello, Dad Facts. How you doing? And then, yeah, you just enter the door. I said you just enter the door. And here's another example of a friendly hitbox for the coin block. Like, I should be hitting this, right? We got the 2 wide. This is a Castlevania, exclamation point, Dram 3 music. I want you to have Bird by Dr. Pepper if you want to instill that responsibility on him, although he's in Disney right now, so probably not. So here's the troll. I wanted to make it really easy for you to just dodge this. That's why even if you jump literally right here and hold right, you will just dodge it. But this troll is vicious because, you know, you land on top of it, activates snake blocks, feeding blocks, and the cement block is in fact an eating block. And how about this block? In terms of Kaizo block, that depends on if you want an animation. You see how there's like an animation here? That's a bounce sprite. And you can only display up to 4 bounce sprites at once. So the most you can do is like a 16 by 16, or I guess like a 4 wide. If you don't want an animation, you can make it pretty big, but it would probably display the black bar up top because of the amount of blocks you're changing on a frame. So I probably wouldn't recommend anything more than like a 3 wide or 4 wide. This is also going to be in the resources if you want this. Look at the bounce spray, it's so pretty. I had to make the coin line up in the middle too. I'm a big animation guy. That's why all the on-off blocks in this pack, they have the little bounce spray animation. I don't like the insta-hit ones. Oh, that's also something I need to talk about with on-offs. I'll do that after we beat this. But yeah, here's this. And then... I don't know if I actually needed this spray. There's a spray in the pit here. That's just the be part of the troll counter. Basically, you notice how it despawns when this 9 right here. It like disappears when I pass it. That was to increment the troll counter, but it should already be incremented here. Oh, that's why it's inaccurate. Because you can hit this block and not get trolled. It's basically my logic behind counting trolls. It's inaccurate, but it's fine. I basically wrote a sprite, custom sprite, just to keep track of trolls for situations where if you fall in a pit, like that troll in the special world level, same idea. But anyways, that's level 2 or 3. I don't know if that caught my nose blowing, but hopefully it didn't. Oh, I gotta blow one more time. Listen to Paper Mario. When I use spikes and when munchers, that's I feel like I'm extra when it comes to this, but let's just open up like level 4, for example. My default is munchers, except for if it's in midair, because I always want my munchers to be planted somewhere. So you can see they're on some sort of ground. If it's in midair, I will use a... Well, these ones are sprite only ones, so that's why they're there. If it's midair and not really attached to anything, I'll use a spike. If there's like a lot of them bunched together in midair, let me see. Oh, my page up and down for live split. All right, let me just do. That's when I'll use these anon blocks. So midair kind of. Oh, I didn't use anon. I'm inconsistent, dude. These should be anon blocks. Like here, if I use, I don't know, if I use all 4 like spikes for this, I don't like the look. I'm like unnecessarily picky. I probably should not just use these 2 blocks act exactly the same. So I feel like I should just have done one to make it less keep track of what the blocks do, but I don't know, I like Mario Maker spikes. So I think my next tech, I probably will just get rid of these and just use these. But if it can be attached to ground or something, I will use munchers. Or spikes, but spikes are for like castles. Like what's a castle? 16. So castles will be spikes. Or for Yoshman levels, because munchers, you can walk on munchers with Yoshman, so that's why these are munchers. And the rest are spikes, because the way I have spikes is they kill you no matter what. They only look good when they're 1 tile wide. I don't know. I couldn't figure out what I like when I have to see a lot in a row like this. This is a non-block because I want spikes to also be attached to something. So like an Ultra Star, for example, it's the same thing where there's like a non-blocks attached, but I want them to be death too. But I don't know. I feel like I should have just not used Mario Maker spikes and just use a non-blocks like here, for example. But I think my next deck I'll start doing that. But just me being unnecessarily picky with aesthetics. For those that are curious, what's the next level? Power up? Here, we'll open that up. No, that's wrong. It's this one. The teleport works. We'll get to it. But it's basically I force rope glitch, detect it through code that you got rope glitch, and then make it so if you're past a certain point, just teleport the player. But we'll get to that. Not today, because I spent 2 hours explaining 3 levels, dude. I'm gonna spend like 50 hours explaining the whole hack, I think. That's still twice as fast compared to how long it took Barb to beat the hack. Anyways, we're on to level 3 here. Well, I know, right? Also, you can re-enter switches if you want. These ones don't have a way to get to the palace because if there's one section, there's no checkpoint to go to. And the switch disappears. So, what, am I gonna just teleport you to an empty room? I could have. I didn't for another reason, which we'll get into, but for levels with only one section, like this one too, there's no door or anything. It's just to get to the checkpoint. Growman's Wild Ride! So this is another stink block level. Believe it or not, this level and the previous level were not the same level broken up. The previous level was the very last level yeah, it was the very last level I made. It was a late edition because I wanted to actually put a boss fight in the second half of that level. I was going to do a Big Boo, but the eating block like eats downwards, so it's like a vertical level, and then you like use the eating down snake block and then you do Big Boo stuff. But then I gave up because I ran out of ideas, and I'm like, I'm not going to force it. So that's why that level's just one section level, separate from this level, because this level was made a while ago with the second section actually just being a snake block, but not a normal one. And that's why the level before this is eating block, right? It's not a snake block. There's not a start and end to the moving one. It's just a row of blocks being eaten. Nom 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 nom. So there's that. Also, you can see here with the munchers and the spikes. Here, I actually just want to use these spikes because I don't know. I like how they look. But if they're attached to like up here, this weird ground, then I put a muncher, because I think there's like slight cutoff if you put it directly on like, you know, this block right here. I'm particularly picky about cutoff. There's actually some cutoff I forgot to remove in the rhythm game level. I saw it like a few days ago. I'm like, shoot, dude, it's in there forever because I'm not updating this again. But I just need to be less picky about my aesthetics. Also, I never explained this block, but apparently, I didn't know this, but this block in ROM hack races is not bonkable by Mario. So, a lot of people that played ROM hack races and saw like this in level 1, they were stumped. And I was like, oh. In hindsight, I probably should have just used the turn block. I didn't because of how turn blocks, once they stop turning, they'll go back to being a block. But it really doesn't affect like this setup, for example. You're gone after you hit this on off. So I probably should have made some of these turn blocks to make things, you know, and have less blocks to learn, and now less inconsistent things. Because in this version you can bonk, but in ROM hack races you can't. But I don't know. That's future me's problem. But here we can talk about the on-off block. This might be something that people don't know. Let's see, did I memorize the address? 14AF? I think it's 14AF. Invalid address, hold on. Okay, it's not 14AF, is it 13AF? Nope, alright, to the RAM map we go. On off. Oh, it is 14AF. Hold on. That was right. Oh, maybe it didn't swap yet. Oh, it did swap. Alright, so on-offs. They're a little different. Well, I shouldn't say different. So the way they work is the on-off value doesn't swap the moment it's hit. The on-off value swaps the moment the bounce rate is finished. So if you look at this value right here, on-off, it's 0, which is on. But if you notice I hit this, it's still 0. On-off blocks are still there. It's not until this sprite is done, you see it turn to 1. So there's actually a little delay from when you hit an on-off before it actually swaps. And that's another reason why I didn't use the on-off blocks that don't have the animation, because those custom blocks, they swap the on-off immediately the moment you touch that block. But here is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 6 frame delay, which might not matter in a majority of situations, but it would in places where you have like an on-off block really close to an on-off switch. So that's why a lot of my on-off setups are, you know, this on-off wall is way further. But that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is the on-off block, depending on how you set up the animation, it will not be displayed 1-to-1 to the on-off value. By that I mean, if you look at this, the on-off value is 1, which means right now the game treats it as off. So theoretically, you actually can go through this block right now. But if you notice, if I advance a frame, keep advancing, 5 frames later, you actually see it update. And that is because X animation, it doesn't update every frame. It updates every 8 frames. So if you actually want this to be accurate to the on-off value, which is more important than the second half of this level, because the second half of this level, there's an on-off snake. And I forget if I actually did the... Let me check. Because for the on-off snake, the moment the on-off value switches, it kind of needed to accurately depict it switching. If I didn't do that, then I should be shamed. I think I did. Man, you can't see the window. Hold on, I might do this. Okay, so X animation basically shows animations for blocks. So like things like on-off, things like P-switch blocks, things like the munchers animating, stuff like that. So you can see that there is 1F slots, which is equal to 32. But the way this works is slot 0, slot 8, slot 10, slot 18, they all animate on 1 frame. Slot 1's the next frame, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the 8th frame. And this goes back to this. So that's why every 8 frames it'll check to see if it should update. Which is why you see here on frame 166, this updates. No matter when I hit it. And then 8 frames later than that, it would update again. So it should be, what, 62? So 58. So you see this be 58, it should update. I lied. Oh, it's because the on-off value didn't get swapped. So 66 updates. Let me delete a little. So 66, what, 74? Doesn't do it in time, so it should be 82. Yeah, see? So every 8 frames, it'll visually update. But the moment you see this value here turn to 1, the block's functionality will be active. So in terms of this section of the level, I need to make it so it activates, or it accurately graphically displays the change on the frame. That's why you have all these, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but it basically says used. And slots 8 through 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah, I make it change. So that way every frame has a chance to update the on-off graphic visually. And again, it's probably not going to really matter too much in a lot of levels. That's why I don't do this unless I actually need the player to see the change happen accurately. So things like a P-switch timer, right? In Skyzo, you need to know the moment the P-switch runs out, these blocks. Same idea here. The slots are used on a lot of them. You just don't want to do it because it does take a lot of time to animate on one singular frame. So if you have too many of these animations, you're going to have like a black bar displayed on top of the screen, which annoys me a lot. You won't notice it really if you're playing, but I try to avoid that. Same thing with the rhythm game level. You need the animation to update on the beat, not, you know, every 8 frames after the beat happens. So here is another example where the slots are used. But in situations where, you know, level 4, you know, this one, sure, it can animate, you know, up to 8 frames later than what it shows, because you're not going to be near an on-off or have it really matter. Which is why if you see this, a lot of not used. So that's just a little thing about the on-off. I'm not sure if a lot of people know. But I wanted to say that before I forgot. So, the first half doesn't really matter. It can update late. Second half, you need it to update. And not too much here. I mean, the indicator, having the stink block indicate like this, I actually had to like modify the stink block because of how it was coded. It's a pain in the butt, dude. Absolute pain in the butt to get this to work, but I'm glad it worked. Oh, here's an example of the chuck, actually. Can I go back? So, you're gonna see that when I bounce off this chuck, it's gonna be actually a different height. We'll use a frame for reference when it actually start falling. Actually, I think it might be the same. Oh, it's only if it hops up, I think. Never mind. I actually don't think this is that. I shouldn't say inconsistent. There's like any variability. The only potential variability is you can see this this chuck hops up every now and then. Set timer. And depending on when you spawn the chuck, relative to the snake block, you can still pretty far behind it. You don't spawn the chuck until like this point. So if I spawned it later, he could potentially hop up before it falls down, so you would be a slightly different timing. It doesn't matter because of how much time you have to react to where it's going to fall. But that's just one example of how things can be a little variable. But again, these are situations where it thankfully doesn't really matter. Otherwise, I would have fixed it. Which we're getting up to a situation where it does matter. Maybe not that much, but... Nothing explained here other than the fire bar is just for anti-cheese, because I don't want you to just stand like right here. Right here, you can like land back on the snake block. Fire bar's here to prevent it. So here, I think the chuck already spawned. Let's find out. What slot are you? 5? 3? Okay, so this chuck's in slot 3. This is another example of, like with the level 1 Rex, where the chuck is going to be spawned, but it won't be doing anything. So you can see the number 3 value, very top, 1200x, 368 wide. The 368 will be the same because the chuck's not going to move. It's not going to hop up and down until a specific thing happens, which is that this snake block touches this invisible block down. Where is it? Oh, wait, no. It doesn't touch a block. It reaches a specific position. I wrote it in code. But it's the same idea as if, you know, for example, there's a block here. The moment that snake block touches this block, makes the chuck move. So that way the chuck movement and the snake block are linked together and not dependent on when you spawn it. The plus and minus, they just make the snake block go faster or slower. So you can see exactly where I make it jump. When the snake block is right here. Apparently I made it so that this snake block is right here, this chuck starts moving. So that way it'll always, you can actually kind of see it here. This is the chuck, right? It's just standing there menacingly. See, it's just standing there menacingly waiting for it to be activated. Then boom, activated. That's just to make sure that this chuck gate lines up well enough so that you can do the same thing each time. Or I guess you want strats. Cause I do like a little him jump up twice and do this. And then that's just a small solo thing I did for the chuck. And then this spike actually is one of the spikes with a lower hitbox. So that way you can land on the snake block, because again it pushes you down like 2 spikes or two pixels. So that way you don't land on it and actually feel like you visually land on it and you don't die. And then this rock, they usually bounce up and down when they're on the ground, but this rock is coated so that it's white. It doesn't hop up and down, basically. It's always on its 0 Y speed. Which you can see here, because this is not 1F0 or anything. This is a normal sprite block. So that way this always falls down at the same time, instead of the rock might be bouncing up depending on when you spawned it. That's why I have visual cue here. Mine is like when the snake block is here, that's when I start spin jumping. So that's the visual cue I have there. This dolphin is spawn dependent. You might notice it depending on how you do the rock jump, but it's set up in a way that if you spawn it too early, it'll actually, you have a lot of space here. If you spawn it like, or is it spawn it late? Let me see. Oh, is it rewind time? What's my rewind key? Oh wow, it rewinds even when you do save states. Alright, we're gonna do this. We're doing it back from square one, because I didn't have a good save state. Alright, so let's make some save states here. So let's say you spawn it like late. Let me just try to spawn this late. Actually, let me try to spawn it like as early as I possibly can. Like that's probably as early as I can spawn. See, 9, it spawned. So if it spawns early, then I think what happens is you have not too much space on this part of the trick, but you have a way to survive. That's the important thing, is if you spawn it as early as you possibly can, are you dead? The answer is no. You have enough space to move. And then you have more space here, actually. So you can still do that, right? But if I were to spawn as late as I possibly could... No, I can go later than that. Probably, yeah, about here, probably. That's pretty late, right? You notice how you still have a way to beat it. So, even though you determine when that dolphin spawns, it won't matter when it does, because you'll have an equal opportunity to, like, do this trick. With probably the same difficulty. Maybe when you spawn early, because then you'll get it. I guess we spawn it later, I think. It's when you have, like, a lot less space. But you still can do it. I think what I might look into when I make my next hack is if I can make almost all sprites not dependent on when you spawn it. Like what I'm doing with the chucks, right? Basically that idea where it's spawned, but it doesn't actually do anything until a specific criteria is met within the level itself. I might look into doing that for more sprites in my next hack. And this, not too much to it. It's got to do a back shot. Big fan of doing back shots, alright? Everyone loves a good back shot. Here, there is a little bit of some sprite dependency. But again, it's a same situation where you spawn things really early or really late, it'll be fine because of how slow this snake block is. If you spawn this really early, this snake block will be like in a different spot. But again, because I made this so freaking slow, you have equal opportunity depending on... Well, basically it was the shell jump you do, and then you land here. You can land super far to the right or super far to the left, and it shouldn't matter. And then here, I actually nerfed this part a lot. Hold on, Yoshi. I want to show another thing. So here, is another Yoshi thing I don't want to say fixed. A Yoshi thing I made for consistency. And that is, you notice how Yoshi bounces up and down? Right, like that. He's bouncing over here. And depending on when you hit the switch, and depending on when you spawn him, he will fall down at not the consistent time. But I wrote a patch where if he's on a specific map 16 tile, he will not bounce. So this one he bounces, right? You can see him bounce, these little hoppies. Now when you see him on this tile, he does not hop. He's just chilling there. He's vibing, man. And that's to make landing on falling Yoshis more consistent. Although in this case, it doesn't really matter because I have also this tile down here for it to land on. But I use it for more consistency, because there are spots where I make you fall in falling Yoshiman. I wonder how many people actually notice that. But yeah, you can see he's bounced up in here. But again, that's because it doesn't matter, because he's just going to land on this platform anyways. I think it's because the old setup, I didn't have that block. And I think it's because I nerfed it. That block is there. But yeah. Then here, there's some strats you can do for this. I saw Mighty Mouse do this. It's kind of a sick strat, but you can be on this block. And it can be like almost disappearing. You can like grab it. You can actually see Mario dip down. See, look. My X position is 2208. That one was. Yeah, I dipped down a little. Sorry, it's the decimal number. Oh, I lied. You know, I'm just a dirty liar. Well, you can see him visually dip down, though. See? He visually dips down. Boop. Boop. Yeah, you can grab the block, like, pretty late. Like there, even. Oh, it's Y? Oh, I'm stupid, guys. You're right. Look at the Y value, not the X. Yeah, so it's 60. Boop. You drop down. 336 to 337. If you're curious, you're constantly moving, actually, when you're on the ground. Here. Not a snake block, because that automatically just sets your speed to 0. When you're on the ground, your speed is actually always moving, and you can see this number, it's always fluctuating. But it doesn't matter, really, for a lot of steps, because it's just subpixel BS. Also, here's the dolphin. Here's a good example of the sprite off. Oh, no, it's a camera sprite, I lied. The dolphin hasn't spawned yet. That's right. So the sprite offsetter is really good for stuff like this, where even at this point, right? These 4 values, they're not a dolphin. These are 2 snake blocks. This is a camera sprite. I don't know what the 4th one is. But it's not until this point you cross the gap that the dolphin spawns. That's why there's a gap here. To make sure you're holding right so that it can spawn like that. Because I don't want people to, like, if there was not a gap here, they would do, like, you know, like this and then accidentally spawn it or something. So basically the sprite is way off screen. Here. And it's not until here that this sprite will spawn the dolphin and put it right here. And then these munchers are up here. They increment the troll counter if you touch them. And then the camera sprite. Oh, I guess that's what that is, the camera sprite. Makes it so the screen stops scrolling right here, because I like the screen to stop scrolling after a checkpoint. That's just me. But now we can see the on-off I'm talking about. See, you're gonna see this value on-off sync up with the graphics. Maybe like 1 frame later, but that's just because how it is. So 1, shortly after, it'll always show, no matter when I hit this. All right, hit it now. A few frames later, shows up. A few frames later, shows up. So that way you know exactly when you can touch the snake block. The troll counter, yes. Well, I've gone over what increments the troll counter. It's not entirely accurate, but it's accurate enough to make people believe they got trolled. Yeah, hitting some people, or watching people with the dolphin's great. That's one of those FU trolls, because you don't really, there's no heads up on that one. But some people dodged it. They waited. So not everyone hit it, which I'm happy about. I want people to dodge trolls. Trolls, I think good trolls should be sniffed out, but also have a good hit rate, and also good dodge rate. Actually, the best trolls are the ones you troll yourself, but the second best are those ones. Whoops. So nothing really crazy about this. Let me see what type of throw block this is. Okay. So another minor thing that I had to fix, this one is actually janky, is if you throw a throw block up at a ceiling, sometimes it'll just die and it will not activate the block you're trying to hit. In this case, an on-off. So what I had to do was write a custom block here that basically takes away horizontal collision, because the reason this thing even happens where you throw a throw block up and it dies is because it like checks for horizontal collision when it shouldn't, something like that. And as a result, it'll just break because it thinks it's a solid block. And because it thinks it's a solid block, it's going to break. Because if you hit if you throw a throw block at a wall, which is its horizontal collision detection, it'll just break. I want to actually demonstrate this here. Let me see what custom blocks I made that were muncher proof. All right, this is kind of precise though. It's really hard to replicate, but I'm just gonna do this until it happens. Do it! Break! I don't know if I can do it. It's hard to replicate, but it's a thing that can happen. And it's not even specific with throw blocks. Like if you throw anything up, like a key, a shell, or P-switch, there's a chance it will just hit the corner. Basically, it thinks it's like hitting the side of the block in the corner, and then it won't actually activate. And that's why I have these custom blocks, so that this throw block will never die. These munchers are the same thing. It will never die when it hits this. Yeah, you can see I hit the side of that wall and it breaks. It's basically the idea behind that. So that's one of those minor jank things I've had to fix. I actually missed a spot in the resurrection level with the LR. Sometimes the shell would hit the on-off but not activate it, so I had to fix that because I forgot that spot. But it shouldn't happen. Everyone, whoa! It shouldn't happen anywhere in the hack anymore. Here it's sauce spawn dependent, doesn't really matter. Here we have another example of the camera sprite in action. This is one place where the camera wouldn't scroll in an older version, and that's just basically how I set up the camera sprite criteria, so I fixed that. But camera sprite located directly above this block, so you have to touch it in order to hit this block, so that way you can scroll this camera. And now this setup right here uses a custom block to make sure that this Koopa shell, it always goes to the right. because in the original game, how this works is if you're hitting like a block below a sprite, the sprite that's being bounced, in this case a shell, it bounces away from where Mario is. So in this case, Mario is to the right of the sprite. And if this was S and W, the shell would bounce to the left, and then you wouldn't be able to grab it. So to ensure that I make the sprites always go to the right, no matter where you are when you hit it, I put an invisible custom block over the shell. It's invisible. And detects when the shell has been kicked or like knocked up, and it will always knock it to the right. Same thing if I want to knock it to the left. So every one of these setups, you can see in Lunar Magic here. Well, not see, but if I hover over it, see there's an invisible block right here. And there's actually a very minor difference because it detects the knocked, it detects when it's knocked like 1 frame later. So as a result, if it gets knocked to the left and then it moves to the right, it'll be technically like a pixel to the left. But again, 1 pixel to the left is not going to make or break any of these setups. But that's a very small difference. I don't know if I can actually show it. We gotta look at some numbers here. I missed. Don't look at that. Okay. So here, when I hit it, I'm gonna be to the left of it. Let's do it this way, actually. We can look at its Y speed, or X speed. Actually, no, I can just see it here. 432.80. So on frame 44948, it's 432.80. I'm to the left of it. Well, it's gonna be hard to hit this because of how I set it up. Hit the block! Hit the block! See, now it's, wait, where is it? Now it's 431.80, so it's 1 entire pixel to the left. So that way, it always goes to the right, but it'll be 1 pixel to the left. The shell, 1 to the left to the right. Yeah, I guess that's another way to make it consistent. Because I don't think, like, for example, the shell is right here, right? And you want to go to the left. Yeah, I guess even if you hit this block as far left as possible. I never thought about it like that. I guess that works too. Yeah, but I guess in situations where you have it directly on top, then you probably need this block. So I guess this is a situation. Because I don't really want the block, this question mark block to the left one, nor the death blocks to the right one. So I guess either way works. Your way is probably more elegant. Camera scrolling block. Camera starts scrolling. Or stay scrolling. Once you get here, so you can see ahead. So here's another example of the sprite spawning doesn't matter. So if you notice here, these bullets, they're not doing anything, huh? It's not until the snake block gets to a specific position, which I don't even know. You'll see it move when it gets to that position. Come on. I know you want to move. Yeah, right there. So whenever it's like right here, these start moving. So that way, it's not dependent on, when you spawn it. Because you're not really going to know if you're spawning anything, nor where that spawn point is. It's just a way to make, again, the obstacle to the snake block not, like, have anything be spawn dependent. Because if you spawn this too early, right, these bullets would be on your butt, like, by this point. Or if you spawn it too late, then the snake block would be way too gone, and then you're not going to be able to get back on it. Yeah, whatchamacallit? The VoIP was? Yeah, I fixed that. I saw it. And I know exactly why it happens. It's because in an older version of the camera sprite, there's basically a criteria I coded where it's like, don't start scrolling the screen until you've gone to the left side and then gone back to the right. And what happened was this region where you're too far to the left and too far to the right is like right here. So what they did was they did like this, where they got past the area and then they went back to the left and then they landed on this platform, which means they accidentally reached this criteria. And that means the camera enabling sprite, the way I have it set up is it despawns once it enables the screen to scroll. And because it despawned before the camera stopping block sprite got to its position, it just permanently locked it. So that's why I put the camera sprite up here, because you have to touch the camera sprite block in order to hit this. So now it should never happen. But I'm kind of happy. That was like the only spot, maybe another spot, I don't remember, that the camera broke. Every other area it seemed to work. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah. If you want to see a cool glitch here, this block doesn't make you fall down when you're still on it. And that's because this block doesn't actually check on-off state for validity the way I coded it. And I am too lazy to fix it because it's actually kind of a pain in the butt to do that. It doesn't really break anything, so I'm just going to let it be. So you can either do it this way, apparently, or you can do this way. Your choice, I guess. Also, yeah, these are the ones where if you fall off it, it'll disappear. And then here's another example of not needing to worry about when you spawn the sprite. So the next obstacle is this blue Koopa kicks the shell. And I have it so that, what's it, in sprite slot 5? So here it's already spawned. But if you look at its X and Y positions, they are not moving. It's frozen above the screen. And I basically unfreeze it once the snake block reaches a specific position, which is apparently right now. So that way you always bounce off the green shell when the snake block is here, in case you spawn it too early or too late. This is actually, I think, the only spot where this on-off graphic is displayed. Even though like 90% of the on-offs they disappear after you hit it. And I only have it here because I don't want people to think that you bounce off the on-off, or you bounce off the shell and the on-off hits it twice, because it goes, you know, on and off. I wanted to convey that you don't want to hit this at all. Right, instead of doing like this. Or try to do something like that. So that's the only reason why this one's the only on-off with that graphic. And then here, it's the same... Wait, no, there's nothing here. That's really fancy. Actually, there is something. This doesn't really matter, but I made the... to see this blue naked Koopa, it'll disappear once it kicks the shell. See? It's poof! It's gone. See you later, buddy. I just do that, just I don't know, anti-cheese or something. Is this TAS? Yeah. You want to see me not use TAS? I would speedrun. Anything about here? Not really, just a camera sprite locking. The camera sprite is directly below this donut block, so you need that. You will land on it. A lot of the camera stopping and starting is mainly just figure out where to place the spray I need to make you start scrolling the screen again. Bozonage, thank you for the Prime Gaming sub. Welcome, thanks so much. So here you're gonna see, like, I could just demonstrate it now. See, I can start scrolling the screen again. So not too much about this setup. There actually used to be a spike falling down right here, but I removed it. I guess a fun fact about Thwomp is they only detect, like, if it's on, you see how it's hitting 2 blocks? It only cares about 1 block to see if it'll go through it or stop. Is that the right one or the left? I actually always forget. Okay, apparently it's the right one. If there's a block on the left and not a block on the right, it'll just go through it and fall to the ground. If you're curious. Thanks for making the hack. Thanks for watching. We're explaining literally everything about this hack. It's going to be like a 50-hour part. I spent 1 hour in level 1. We're on good pace though. Level 3? No, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on level 4 in 3 hours. Good pace, guys. You can actually see the moment that these snake blocks change or eat the block. It's like pretty much right over it. Oh, you see with the this block here. Yeah, like the right one is pretty much over it. You can kind of see the disco shell will go through the sprite itself because there's no interaction with the both ends of the 1F or the sprite only snake block. So the window to actually keep this on the top is a little smaller than you think. Oh wait, I did get rid of P speed. I forgot I did. Apparently, this is just to prevent cheese, but I prevented you from getting P speed, so you can't make this jump up here. I guess I was right. Dash asked if I removed P speed here, and I guess I did. For anti-cheese purposes. So here, Yoshman bounces because it does not matter from the top. When you land on him, if he's bouncing up or down, something from you need to land on him in midair from the bottom. But I gave 2 blocks of leeway here, so if you dismount late, you can see it's like you still have a chance. Kind of happy how this turned out. I mean, it's not too much to say about this. I think I made the on-off block on the right here. This one right here. I think I also made it not start until this snake block. Oh yeah, I didn't. Because you see it's in sprite slot 8. These 2 numbers are not changing. And they will change once the snake block apparently reaches like right here. So that's again to line up the snake block cycles instead of when you spawn them. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Yoshman elevators. Big fan. I don't think I nerfed this at all. So yeah, that's how I made this consistent. Not much to say about this part. Here, the hint is, there's 2 hints. One, before we even touch the goal, you can see this. So that should already immediately warn you about potentially a post-goal trap. And number 2, you can see, these are intentionally placed so you can see them. So you know where the snake block is going to go. Surprisingly, people died to this troll. I'm kind of happy. But, I even made the lava visible too, so like, there's like 3 things to be wary of. And I made this 4 tall because I want it to be easy to actually put a hole here. The troll shouldn't be in like an unnecessarily difficult obstacle, right? The troll should just be, oh, you went too fast, not, oh, you didn't precisely make a nice hole for you to land in. So that's why this is 4 tiles tall. However, one thing I probably should have done is add like a falling spike right here. Probably when the snake block is like right here. I should have put a freaking falling spike right here. And then you could like dodge it, right? And then you go. That was actually a Barb suggestion, believe it or not. Out of all people that suggested. Because Barb was like, dude, I would have put like a falling rock here. And I'm like, you're so right. That's a great idea for a troll. But that's why I made this as lenient as it is. And then if you die in the lava, it also increments the troll counter. Anytime you die, once you touch the goal, I can't talk, dude. It increments it. Alright, so now we're on level 4, and this will probably be the last level we do today because I'll just break it down by world, I guess. I don't know if there's that much to talk about this level. We'll find out. Other than it's a banger, dude. Here I have the message boxes explain the on-offs, so that's the only reason why this exists. Same with the how it doesn't disappear if it's outlined. So that's why these are here. Apparently a lot of people try to grab the fire flower and then like continue. I think a lot of people didn't even notice they didn't need it. I probably should have put the fire flower in not a spot where they think that, but like for example, right, you do this. I see people like do like this. But I mean, yeah, you don't need it. I probably should have placed it in a more conveniently spot. Do I do math to make stuff? There's some math involved. These bullet launchers, they're faster than vanilla. Which I thought would be a concern for some parts, because usually you would assume it's vanilla speed, but anytime it's like you need to know if it's not vanilla speed, I would put a sound effect, which is exactly in one spot and has the resurrection level. I think the rest of my setups, you don't really need to know the speed of the bullet, or it'll be determined after the first jump. Because when you do this first jump, right, by this time you'll see the second one to get shot, and you already know that, and then that determines the speed at which, the frequency at which they get shot. Now I talked about the music. No, because I don't know anything about music. Or porting. And apparently I'm bad at picking music because I don't play games, and a lot of the music is based off of games. So it was really difficult to pick music. Nothing to talk about other than for this level I wrote a patch where anytime you get hurt you die, which is different than there's an Uber ASM version, but I didn't use the Uber ASM version because anytime you take damage it plays the sound effect. Where is it? Hold on. It plays that sound effect, the power down sound effect. And I hated that. So I made it so anytime you take damage, you just straight up die, no extra sound effect playing. See, no sound effect. Well, these ones you can do with the custom blocks. But like if you touch the side of the saw, or let me touch the side of it. Okay, whatever. Not that enemy. It's such a this one. Yeah, so it doesn't play that sound. You just die. Also, if you missed a shot for whatever reason, you can save it. I did allow that. It's kind of hard, but you can save if you missed a shot. I won't miss stuff. See, boom. So now we get up to another one of these spawning consistent setups. So in the Lunar Magic here, we're going to go to right here, which is where the Super Koopa spawns. And you notice that there's 3 more up here. These are offsetter sprites. And they make it so once this Koopa spawns, all these other ones spawn at the same exact time. So how this layout is right here. This layout right here with the Koopas, they will always be spaced apart the same exact way every single time. And you can see them spawn all at the same time right here. And you actually see the next frame, they actually move. So here, this is the offsetter sprite. And then boom, next frame, they're in their respective spots. And again, this uses a custom routine where it doesn't despawn off the right side of the screen because these Super Koopas are like all the way over here. And they would have despawned when you spawned them. Because before it was a little spawn dependent, especially when you get to right here. Depending on how fast you do this part, it would make like these two spawn differently. So now it just doesn't really matter. It'll always look like this. This is a custom... I forgot about this. Maybe I'll add it to the resources I add. But there's like a few bugs in it. But this is a custom flying green Koopa I made. I made it because regular green Koopas, they will move up and down when they move to the left. This one, you can see it does not move up and down. It just goes straight left. That is to just be consistent. But the current bug with it is if you spin it for one frame, it shows weird garbage, and I don't know how to fix that. But it's only for one frame. After that, it's normal. But you can probably notice it if I go full speed. Maybe sometimes. I don't know, but that's probably something I'll do. I could release that. Just forgot I made that. Nothing much to say about this, other than there's a patch that I implemented where the cape hitbox, it spins on both sides. It's either both sides or every other frame. Because, for example, right, if Mario is facing this direction, the cape's behind him, so it's not going to interact with these blocks. And the way you spin is every 8 frames? Let's see. I think every 8 frames you change directions. So this is your player direction. Right now it's 1, 0. That's every 4 frames, apparently. Can I show the hitbox? On BizHawk, you can. BizHawk actually shows more stuff, but it's like overwhelming. But basically, the hitbox, it's like a very thin rectangle. It's like this. But this ensures that no matter direction you face, it should always, yeah, see how I'm facing left and still hit it? So that way you don't actually like get to this point and then you're like, well, one of the blocks didn't break on the way down. And then you get hecked by that. You can still do this if you just fall too early, but you should always spin all the blocks as you fall down. Here, camera stopping, not too much about it. So there's actually a little thing in SNW where if you try to shoot a fireball off screen, it will not shoot. So I put a patch in where even if you're like Omega off screen, shoot a fireball, you can see the fireball still gets shot and displayed. Even if you're like barely off screen, right? Even if you're like that, sometimes the fireball wouldn't shoot. So that's to make sure it always shoots a fireball. And then here we get the first instance of some water. This is actually fake water. It's not actual water. Because it'll have like splashes as it falls down. But I do fake water to save like speed. Because you gotta do some calculations if you turn on like sprite buoyancy, which is like it interacts with water. And then as a result, you can have less sprites on screen at once because it needs more time to like calculate things. So a way around that is I use fake water where it just says, hey, sprite touches it, make it fall slow. If Mario touches it, it won't do anything. It's all an illusion. So that's there. Coin block here. I don't know how many people hit that one. Very easy to avoid, so as you can see, I like went through it. I don't know how many people noticed, but some of the saws have sound effects and some don't. Like this one, I didn't want to have a sound effect. I don't know why. I think there's sometimes it get annoying to listen to. So sometimes I'll turn it off and sometimes I'll turn it on. So this one, I muted it. Nothing crazy with this setup. Here, it's based on when you get to the chuck. If you're within its proximity, it'll start its little animation here. It doesn't matter, like, it's not like on a frame cycle or anything. It'll check every frame. So the moment I'm like right here, right? I used to have it where you had to break this block first before it would do anything, but I decided to just use a vanilla chuck. And then, dude, we got the fish, dude. Fish. Not too much here. Camera scrolling sprite. Anything here, really? Here's an example where I really had to make sure that you would break all the blocks, no matter, you know, which direction you face. There are some people that, you know, spun too late, and they might, like, you know, do that. Doesn't really matter if you do that, because you can still just do whatever you want there. This is an example where I want it to be like that, break the block immediately if something hits it, but there's a weird kink where it wouldn't interact with the Cape hitbox, and I was like, turn blocks are probably fine, so that's why these are turn blocks. Apparently, there's two ways to do this. Some people will like do this, where they would like only use a fire flower, which is kind of crazy work. But Chuck takes 5 fireballs to hit, and it'll die. Actually, each fireball does 2 damage on it, I think. Like, if I were to hit this Chuck right now, it would die because I hit 2 fireballs. I think. I forget. I could be wrong. Yeah, you see, that died after 1 fireball. Maybe you're just curious about that. And then you have to hit the Chuck on the right side the first 2 bounces. The third bounce, the bounce that dies, it doesn't matter which side you're on. It won't like shoot you left or right. And here's another example of all the sprites spawning at the same time. This one you can easily see because they're all lined up perfectly. Not too much about this. You can't actually cheese this without like hitting any of these, but I find that's like way harder. So I decided to just keep it in. Like, you can do that if you want. And then troll, you got the star. Increments the troll counter. Not too much to say about that. I think this is a lot more straightforward in terms of like technical stuff. If you miss this checkpoint, I guess you get sent back here. If you're curious. So here you have to use X if you're holding with Y. Because the moment you let go, like if I let go of Y right now, boom. I lied. Wait, I didn't know that. Oh wait, what the heck? No, wow, you can let go of Y. Never mind. I think if you let go for 2 frames, maybe you can't do it. Oh, I guess if you let go for 1 frame, you can still do it. I usually just push X like that. Oh, here's an example of you can see it visually incorrect. Right, I'm like inside the block because it's already off. Oh, I guess this custom sprite, since this is a custom block, a Fireflower one, you can actually see the on-off swap immediately. I think I left that in intentionally though, for this part. Right, so the moment I push X to shoot a fireball, it's already won. As opposed to when the bounce sprite finishes. No. So here is I think the only spot in the game where I have the camera sprite set up with the criteria of you need to be on the left side first before you can start scrolling the screen again. I think that's the only spot I did that. Or I think I can't remember if I sent this to a timer base. Let me see actually in Lunar Magic. So this level is also fun fact. This level is one of those ones where you can use a variable height. So it's a little taller than normal, but it's just as long. So this spray right here. Yeah, so the way I have this set up is you cannot scroll the screen until you pass the screen on the left. Hold on, I need to see. There's a RAM address I can actually show off. The camera, is it camera origin? (14.2a) I think is the address. So let me do 70.14.2a. No, that's the wrong value. Is it? No, I think it's the wrong value. Oh no, it's not. It's not camera origin. I lied. Which one is it? Is it basically a value I'm checking to make sure you're far enough on the left side of the screen? And I forget which value that is. Actually, I can look in the code. When in doubt, look in the code. And I'll tell you exactly which address I'm looking for. Maybe? This is a hard maybe. It's not the biggest issue if I can't find this. Oh, 7E. I think it's 7E. X. Yeah, okay. So 7E is basically the position of Mario relative to the sides of the screen. So as you're moving right, you can see how the camera, the distance between here and here and here and here is the same if you're going, moving to the right. So that's why this value is 6A. And basically what I do is I check to make sure that this value gets to at least 55 or 60. No, 69. Oh, that's pretty nice. Because if the value is 69, right, if you look at it now, that means I'm on the left side of the screen. And I won't allow you to scroll the screen until you get to this left area. So there's a camera sprite right here, right next to the throw block. That ensures that you touch the camera sprite when you grab the throw block. There's no way around it because it's right in front of it. So I'm touching the camera block, and you can see the camera is actually following me, but the screen isn't scrolling. And that's because I haven't gone to value of 69 or less yet. So when I actually do that, so I'll kick it, right? And you will have to get to at least 6-9 or less, because to even get off this platform, you need to be like, you know, 5F. Right, if I did like this, you'll notice how the screen isn't scrolling. But when we get to 6A, so I'm at 6-9, and you can notice how the screen starts scrolling again. So that's required because of how this obstacle is set up, because I want you to, you know, go left and right. And that's how you can make the screen always scroll. The other option I would have done is timer based, maybe. But I have to make sure that the time between grabbing, you know, the spray and actually being on this side of the screen be consistent. But I figured since you have to be past that point to get off this platform even in the first place, that this would be enough. And I think this is the only area in the game where I set up that camera sprite that you have to get to 69 or less. I think the rest are either instantly going to let you move the camera right, or it's timer based. So there's that. Oh, just started playing. We got to finish this level soon. Can you put a timer that starts later in the level? What do you mean by that? So here, not much. I think it's glitch graphics here. Yep, glitch graphics. But I didn't make that sprite. Rope up there to hint to the portrait. The timer only starts when you grab the sprite. That was the easiest way I set it up. Hello, Blue. The answer is no, because your job is not to figure out the camera requirement. That is not your job. Your job is to play the level. And my job as a creator is to make it so you don't have to worry about the camera requirement. You as a player should never know how any of these camera sprites work. The only thing you should know is how to beat the level, and the camera will work by itself. That is my goal. Which appeared to have worked. It only broke in like one place. Maybe two, so. Now this pea balloon is custom in two different ways. Number one is the speed. It does not go like this fast. Number two is I made it so if you don't have pea speed, it goes omega slow. So I don't have pea speed. Look how much slower it is. See, it's like way slower. Not up and down though. Up and down I don't care. But left and right. Also, if you know, pea speed actually doesn't pause when you're in a balloon. I think. I don't think I changed that. I hope I didn't. I don't think I did. Well, a lot of these pea balloon setups are intentionally made to last like 2 seconds or less, because navigating a pea balloon using a D-pad is terrible. Because you have to like hold up and down, or up and right and then down and right, and it's just awful. So I make you do it for exactly like 2 seconds. Which is why it's like this. And then here, the coins to indicate that you're supposed to do this, jump then twirl, because if you try to spin them first, you cannot, you can't shoot a fireball while you're spinning, which was explained earlier in the message box. So even when I push X or Y, you can't shoot it. Oh, the other thing I didn't explain is cape falling. So in SNW, the cape, there's like a cape frame rule where every 8 frames you can start descending when you let go of jump. But here, the moment you let go of jump, you can just start falling. Mario Maker actually does that correctly, because you can do that in Mario Maker. But that's just to make things consistent. Anything else to talk about this? No, this is a camera setup. The camera is located on top of this fire flower, so you're guaranteed to grab it. Did I miss? I did miss. There. Then here. I guess that makes sense, because here is an actual situation where the sprite will always be knocked away from Mario, right? But because you're hitting the one left of it, you should never actually have it go to the left. I guess I do have this here. But I mean, you're going to pick it up anyway, so it doesn't matter. But here's another example of making sure that the shell always sits the on-off and doesn't like clip into it and then not activate it. So theoretically, I don't think a single person ever had it where they hit this on-off and it didn't activate. So that means I did successfully get rid of that, Jink. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. And then the other thing about spin jumping and throwing items is if you're not holding a direction, you can see that it'll either be on the left or right. There is a patch that makes it so it'll always center you when you throw it up. I decided not to use it because if you do hold right, you can see that it will also always be centered when you throw it up. It might be a little off, but because of how wide I made the throw up areas, it shouldn't matter. There's a few instances where you spin jump with an item and throw it. But based on that principle, that's why I kept it in, because there are consistent ways to make the item that you're throwing up go to relatively where you want it to go, as opposed to, you do like let go, jump, and then you can see now it's left or right. But maybe in a future, I don't know if in future I gotta implement that. I think I would just make the setups to actually throw up very lenient. That's why it's like 3 wide. Another thing I didn't modify is when you're flying, your P speed actually does start going down. So you can, I guess I didn't modify it. You can see it here, my meter. It does go down when you're flying. But I basically have it so when you collect it, it goes back to full if you have P meter. If you jumped with P meter, basically if Mario's doing this pose, it gets reset, so you can see the meters back to 12. And then it's frozen here because again, P-Balloon has frozen P meter. And again, navigating with D-pad is annoying, so 2-second P-Balloon part. And then there's a coin block here. But you have to like hit the absolute possible edge of it to hit it, right? There's like a big area where you can avoid it. And I nerfed this part because a lot of people were trying to do this, where they would like spin up to it and go like that. But I think not enough people really knew how takeoff meter worked. Takeoff meter is basically when you're jumping with P speed and you get a cape. That's the second value right here, 21. It's takeoff. As long as this takeoff value is above 2, you can go upwards. See, let's say I jump when it's like 4, I go upwards. When it's not 2, or when it's not above 2, like right now it's 2, you will start to descend. And you can do this like as many times as you want before it gets to that value. So the intended way was to do this, where you scoop around it, and then you do this. But I think not a lot of people knew about the mechanics of takeoff meter, so I nerfed it so that you have a much wider area to move. Barb was doing some crazy strat, dude. He like went all the way above the screen, and I was like, what are you doing? That's insane. So I ended up nerfing that.
And then there is a little quirk with takeoff meter where if you jump on the same frame you land on the ground, you don't reset the takeoff meter. Where is it? So 91. So here my takeoff meter is still 2. But if I jump a frame later, now it's actually set. So to combat that, I think someone made a patch that fixes that, I don't know. But to combat that, I make it so that you just do a normal jump, even if you accidentally do the frame perfect jump, you still go into flight. See? Because the takeoff meter is still active. And once you start moving downwards, that's when the game is like, all right, start flying. So here, right? Even if you accidentally perform the frame perfect trick, you're not screwed. So that's why this next part is a cape flying part. And then here we have a nice little setup here. This firebar was a new addition because a lot of people were trying to do this, where they do a high bounce and try to fireball it, and then they would not figure out how to do the trick. So that's why this firebar is here, to force you to go down low and to hopefully make that obstacle more clear. Like I said, firebars for me are used for clarity and or cheese. In this case, it's for clarity. That's also why these coins are here. This right here is a custom coin, because if you were actually hit a any block below it that spawns like a bounce spray, like a on-off block, a note block, a turn block, question mark block, this coin would turn into a solid block. So to make sure that doesn't happen, this is just a custom coin, so that way you can actually just go through it. Because the coin would also disappear. When you don't have cape, you don't have to care about takeoff meter. The only thing you care about is P meter. Here's not much, just maintain it. We added 5 jumps here because I think people were stuck on the fact that these yellow blocks here, they also clear star, and they were under the assumption that you would stall until the star runs out, which doesn't work because of the camera block. The camera block, I think, is on a timer in this one. Let me check. Yeah, so if you look here, on the bottom left, the value I highlighted, that's the camera block timer, or camera sprite timer. So the screen does not scroll until this reaches 0. And I timed it so, right, you go back and forth 5 times. Well, if I don't suck. Now it's 0, now it can scroll. Because if you kept stalling infinitely, it would start scrolling, and then you'd be like, what? Because they would do like this, and then be like, oh, what? I had to modify it so FF would be, it would line up, because it doesn't actually increment, or it doesn't decrement every frame, it decrements every other frame. So if you look here, oh, maybe I did not do that. No, I lied. I guess it does decrement every frame. Could have sworn I made it decrement every other frame. Because there would be setups where I was like, yeah, I need it to decrement a little slower. But this value right here is very important to get right, because you don't want it to be 0 too early or too late. Like if I did this really fast, it might screw up a little. Actually, I don't even know you can do it. But I don't think most people are trying to do... You basically do task strats. Because task strats, you have to, like, you know, go back and forth. But most people, they would, you know, try to get as much speed as possible. If you're too late, it generally is fine, because by the time this value is 0, you're so far to the left side of the screen that you won't have to worry about accidentally activating it too early. Too early would be the only issue, but I don't think people, you know, try to do it like this. Because I can't even try to do it. So that's why getting this value right is very tricky. So there I tried to be a little quicker, and it still lines up pretty well. And then this fire bar is just to help convey that you need, well, in addition to the 5 jump stacks, because that was added later to go back and forth 5 times, but that was to prevent you from trying to get across, because you'll just die. And also, the camera wouldn't even scroll, so... But again, anti-cheese, it doesn't really add to the obstacle at all. This fire bar is not supposed to be like a added weird movement thing, because if you're just doing what I'm telling you to do, this fire bar won't get in the way. So there's that. You do the cheese, dude. The barb cheese. This was insane. Like, I'm keeping that in for sure. I decided to keep that in. And then if you didn't know, the Koopa will bounce, or the Koopa will like get out from the shell the opposite direction you are. So you want to bounce off it when you're on the left, like this. If you're on the right, it'll bounce to the right. Like that, or the left, sorry. And then this Koopa will always move left first, no matter what. B-balloon, 2 seconds. And here, nothing too much. Here's an example of the troll counter I'm talking about. See the 6? This disappears once you pass it vertically. So that's just a way to keep track of how you fell through the rope kind of thing. And then again, this is a Grand Prix World 2 rope, same colors. And the text box earlier in the hack, I actually added that in a new version where it basically says, Grand Prix World 2 is a great hack that you definitely should play before playing this level for no reason, or something like that. But a lot more, I can't talk, a lot more people hit this troll than I expected. Even Barb. Barb hit it, Pooh hit it, anyone that speedran Grand Prix World 2 hit it. Except for Just Cook. There were a few people that didn't hit it, but Just Cook was one of the few that was like, dude, how did people fall for this? He was so flabbergasted when like 90% of people hit it. But yeah, basically, just don't run on the rope. If you're a certain speed, you'll fall through it. I guess like 33 or something. But yeah, there are a few people that didn't dodge it. I think Chambo didn't dodge it. Or sorry, that dodged it. Chambo dodged it, Just Cook dodged it. I think 1 or 2 more people dodged it. So I'm happy about that people actually dodged it. Fab hit it twice. He like did this where he let go of the run button instead of actually stopped running like this. Grim had an insane thing where he like fell through the rope and then he like touched the goal like that. It was insane. But for people that don't play Grand Prix 2, I have to make sure you know exactly why, and that's where I put the do not run. And also this, so you don't actually, you can at least know why you got trolled, right? And know what you have to do to fix it. Because the point is just the point is getting trolled, not trying to decipher what you're doing to avoid the troll. So there's not too much to that level. I don't think. Well, yeah, I guess the inspiration for each level and talk about. This level wasn't really inspired much. I just wanted to make a cool power-up changing level. The first half of this was stolen from Past Me, from a previous hack. This level was inspired by Just Cook's level, actually, from Invictus. He had a snake block level. The second half was inspired by a Kaizo level design contest made by Idol called Hyperosia. I think that's what it's called. Made in 2018, I think. This level was not inspired by anything. I just wanted to make an eating block level because I made a snake block level. They go hand in hand. I explained this one. This one was inspired by the GDQ relay race level from 2019 that I was a part of. It was the first level in the hack, which is why I decided to make this the first level of this hack, because I think Rexes are a good first level of a hack kind of vibe. So that's World 1, and it took us a grand total of 3 hours and... I'll stop the timer, sure. Actually, I'll play the music. We love Paper Mario bangers. So that's pretty much everything I have to talk about those 4 levels. And we've quickly learned that the series is going to take a very long time to explain things. But if people like seeing this, then sure, I'll go for it. I'll have to split it up into like 7 parts though, but there's that world. Next time we'll talk about World 2. Well, I guess this is World 1. Because there was supposed to be a big boo boss at the end of World 1, this is still part of World 1. So this is a giant World 1 continued. And then we got Dram World 2 overworld here. We got Dram World 1 overworld here. We got a smile, and then we have nice. Very important. Nice is very important. So that will conclude that. This will give you an idea of how technical I'm going to go through every level, and apparently it's extremely technical. So it'll be quite a bit. I don't know if I'll put this on my main YouTube. I don't know. I'll make that decision later. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into this. And again, that's my goal as a creator. My goal as a creator is to make the player not have to worry about a single thing. Like spawning things, how things work, how to avoid something that might be janky. Your job is just to figure out what I want you to do and then get trolled. That's your job. Yeah, you get trolled. Very, very important. Next hack, though, I will be very much more lenient on the trolls, I promise. Maybe.